Hey guys, welcome back to the Latte Foam podcast. I'm Kayla.
I'm Yana.
And we are here with season 2. This is going to be the second episode that you guys are seeing. Yana's in town from Cali, so we thought we would shoot a few episodes here in the conference room of my new apartment complex. But today is a long-awaited video and also kind of a video that we have done before back in our early days. Mm-hmm. We did like a get ready with me video where we talked about Star-Crossed Myth because it's one of our favorite Voltage games.
I look at that video sometimes and I'm like, we were giving slapdash opinions. That's not even word of the week. We were just saying things and then it had very little to pertain to the characters. We're like, I actually know Leo, and it's like, that's crazy.
I didn't even think I had played Leon at that point yet. I hated him, which is very different now, as you will see. If you've seen any of our previous boy ranks, you know how we do it is we're gonna give you like the initial intro to the game, our thoughts on the game as a whole, and then we're gonna go into the routes and we're gonna go from our least favorite guy, like he got the least score collectively, to the highest scoring guy, which no surprises here, although we differed in some areas, we did end up ranking them in the same order. Yeah. So that will be no issue. But yeah, let me just get into like the general info on the game. I did a write-up, like we're prepared guys, we have notes this time. So, Star-Crossed Myth was originally released as a standalone mobile app for Voltage Inc. So it was before Love 365 and all of that. It was a pay-per-route format. And then it was later ported over to their story collection app, Love 365, and when they phased out all the standalone apps, and then that was still a pay-per-route format. But then, recently, they released a Nintendo Switch and Steam version of Star-Crossed Myth, and they did that with basically the selection of guys that are on the Department of Wishes and a selection of guys that are on the Department of Punishments. I did want to ask you, because with this, there are 2 different prologues. So how the game like initially started is there was the first 6, 3 of them were wishes, 3 of them were punishments, and there was a sin that they had to basically get healed. And then there's another 6, 3 wishes, 3 punishments with a different story. So what do you think about the fact that instead of breaking it story by story, like for the Switch version, they did wishes and punishments? What are your thoughts on that?
I like that they do it that way because it kind of gives them the separate of like what their roles are, how they kind of interact as an ensemble cast, because sometimes you spend so much time saying like, how do they all know each other, how do they interact? This gives them a reason to constantly interact, so they're not just kind of, pushed aside. Like when you do something in Star-Crossed Myth, because they're gods, they all would have such strong roles in whatever they're doing that they probably would not interact as often when you think about it. But now that they all work together under the same thing, they have to constantly interact, and it's, to me, kind of a cute way to say like they balance each other. Without wishes or without punishments, you can't have wishes, and if you have not too many punishments, you have to have wishes to kind of fulfill and break that up. So I really like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I could see that. I was like torn on it because I felt like it was kind of janky having the 2 prologues, because especially like with the Switch versions, like how it is there's the prologue section and then it has the guys' stories. So for the 3 guys who have a different prologue, it's like another prologue that you can't skip and have to read before you get to their like first part. So I feel like it could have been cleaner like from the UI perspective if they had split it based on the prologues. Yeah. But it is kind of fun, like, so it doesn't get too stale because it's like not all the same. So you're getting like 3 with one prologue and 3 with another prologue. Yeah. So that's interesting. I did want to touch on like the pricing and stuff like that, because if you guys haven't played this game and you're planning to get it and you have a Switch or Steam account, I would definitely say that's the way to go pricing wise. So I took notes here. The game version includes Season 1, the epilogue, their sequels, and Season 2s for each of the guys, plus extra stories like point of views and musings on love. So if you want to play these games, this is the best deal to do so because it's $29.99 for that. So like for the 6 guys.
And that's actually their whole story.
Yeah.
Their whole main set.
Everything. And the same amount of content on the Love 365 app adds up to $150. So if you were going to play all the same stuff with all 6 guys, it'd be $150 on the app, whereas it's $29.99 to get it for Steam or Switch.
And if you catch them on like a sale time, which they have sales constantly, you can actually spend like $15. So when I got both of the games, I got the whole of both of them for $30.
Yeah, so you can even get a better deal than that. So like the 30 that it normally is.
I will say why I also prefer it on the console is they keep more to the app aesthetic that it used to be. The choices have a little special thing.
It's a better user experience.
The text boxes, the stars and stuff, I love that. Where you get in Love 365, it's very much seen throughout, and you're like, the magic of these games and all of them is the entire app is coded for what it's like. Like Dreamy Days West Tokyo, it was the childhood and all of the little drawings. That was so cute and fun.
I can't wait until they port that. I really hope that they do, because it had the cutest aesthetic, and clearly they still have some of the assets for it, because these used to be standalone apps. Let's just go ahead and jump into what the two different prologues are, because you're probably a little confused if you haven't like played this before. So also, by the way, there is going to be a ton of spoilers in this video because we're going to be breaking down each route, but just this beginning piece, like if you're not sure if you want to play it or not, we're not going to do too many spoilers here in the beginning when we talk about general plot. But anyways, the first prologue, the original one that was released, it follows you as the reincarnation of the goddess of fate, working at your local planetarium and spending your days checking your horoscope, waiting for the stars to smile on you. One evening, when gazing upon a shooting star, the handsome gods of the heavens crash land into your balcony. You brush it off the next morning as a terrifyingly real dream, but you can't ignore fate any longer when later that evening at the Star Festival event at your place of work, the planetarium, the gods appear again to swoop you away. Once back at their abandoned mansion base, which looks like a celestial palace inside, you're confronted with the information that all 6 of these gods before you have sinned and fallen from grace. They need your help to lift their marks of sin, and that's when you learn that the reason you can even do that is because you are the reincarnated goddess of fate. With the star markings still in your eyes, whose aid will you come to, and what will you find out along the way about these gods? So yeah, that is the first prologue. Do you want to go ahead and give the secondary prologue?
Yeah, so the secondary prologue takes place after the marked gods that you previously see in the first prologue have been absolved of their sins and they have now gone back to heaven. It's after literally that prologue and what would have taken place without you actually falling in love with one of the guys. And so then you're back to your normal life, and all of a sudden kind of freak accidents are happening. You almost get run over by a car, some things happen on the train. It just seems like you've hit a streak of bad luck. And while you're at work, you're going to set up this event, and it's just like profusely raining. You don't know why. So of course you take a little special rain doll and say, please, like, I'm begging the gods to have the rain go away. In a dream, see the previous 6 gods, because they say that they can hear your wish and that their wish is your command. Next day you think your luck is finally turning, and the rain stops. So you're like, cool, awesome, I'm having a great time. As you're walking home, you run into 2 really mysterious guys who attempt to attack you because you are going to unseal something called the Dark King. You have no idea what they're talking about. You're fearing for your life because, of course, you're a woman.
And and they have like creepy face tattoos.
Yeah. And their name is Crow, and I want to say Surveillia.
I call him Serve, like in all my notes.
Serve.
Serve, Crow and Serve.
And all of a sudden, the gods of Libra and Cancer, also Ziglavis and Karno, show up and say, like, we're going to protect you. And then they take you off kind of to the forest that you would remember from the first routes if you ever played them. And they break it down saying that the Dark King, who was sealed away by the King of Heavens, is back, and they're trying to come back. The seal is weakening, and that your powers, they don't really say anything else, but that you are the key to unlocking that. So they say you have to come with us quickly, we'll explain the situation, and then you meet the other 6 gods, which is Sagittarius, Aries, Virgo, Capricorn, and then Libra and Cancer already.
Yeah. They were kind of like, I thought they were side characters, because when this first came out, I had it as the original app, and there was only the 1 prologue and only the first initial 6 gods. So when they popped up, I just thought they were like side characters. I was really surprised when they like dropped the whole other prologue and then finish off the Zodiac wheel.
Because you go in and then they kind of give you more detail saying that like you're in danger, you basically have a target on your back, like you're in the mob, and then anyway, they say you can have 1 god that's assigned to you to guard you, because they were all told that if they did guard you and it went well, they didn't actually say a time frame. They're just like, if you guard her well and it goes all great, you get a reward of their choosing. And so and then basically you decide which god it is. And
as far as like the 2 prologues, I do think I prefer the first one, but I like that there's the second one as another option. What are your thoughts as far as comparing the 2?
I would say the same. I think that if they just usher them like these also got sinned, it would be very lazy because you're like, what happened in the between?
It would be like too formulaic, like for 12 times to be the same thing.
Do you wish they gave a little bit more detail, or that either she was still friends with the previous gods, because it was there was no like, well, when did it stop kind of thing?
That's what's weird about it, and we talked about this so much because they're inconsistent with how it works when she removes the mark of sin from the other people. Like even within the first prologue, it's like, so she removed the sin of all those other gods and it's just like nothing. Like you have no feelings, just because once we get into the routes, you'll see like the way in which she removes sin is like kind of romantic.
Yeah, very detailed on how it have to go. And you could also say that if that was the case, let's say it was just friendship, like I'm teaching you on how important a friend is or something like that.
Yeah, like you can learn what love is from like your family and friends, you know.
It seemed like it was just very cast off, and I don't like how she seems almost still surprised about the goddess of fate thing, because it's like for you to go through 6 guys and remove their sins and not fully understand the capabilities.
Yeah, not feel that you're special. Like, it's like, you are at this point, like...
Yeah, I will say I don't understand. Other than, like, her being able to activate their powers, it doesn't give me any sense as to what else she's special. Like, they don't give enough reason.
Yeah, what did the goddess of fate, like, what was her thing in the heavens? Like, they really didn't go into enough lore. I guess, like, we're just getting into our general plot thoughts then here. So, one thing I do want to say is, like, so when this game came out, it was so unique to me because of the games that are available here in the West. Like, it was the first Celestial style game that I've seen. But now that we both know Japanese and we've been kind of studying into original Otome games and stuff like that, one of the first ever Otome games is actually Angelique. You might have heard us talk about it before. I can't remember which episode it was, but it was like kind of just us talking about what we've been playing. I think it was in an Otome News episode. Angelique is the same way in that there's the 12 zodiac signs and they're gods, and you're not a previous goddess, but you're doing stuff with the gods and there's lore. And so there's a lot of stuff about that definitely you can see inspiration. Voltage definitely got inspiration from Angelique. So I just think I want to say like credit due for that, because I feel like before I knew about Angelique, I would have given it credit for being more original, but you can definitely see the callbacks to that. And then another thing I wrote down is that the music in this game is so good. So I want to say that's an amazing thing. And I do love the theming, like I said, but the lore can be a little inconsistent and then just flat out wrong sometimes.
Yeah. And I'll say, as developers ourselves and being very like critical even of ourselves, we get critical about things. Our big thing with us is that if something happens in the world, it actually should happen across all of them. And so when you add such specific details just for the route's convenience, it takes away from the other ones, because you would say if that happened here, that doesn't make sense on how this happened here.
Yeah, it contradicts. So like, I don't want to get too much into it, but you'll see like when we actually go to the spoiler territory that there's no way that this and this can be true at the same time, but it has to be for like everyone to be existing here. And so that's the continuity lines that we're talking about. If you can just accept that and take it as like face value, like each individual route is its own alternate universe, that's like how you have to look at it. To like, I feel like if you're a stickler for that kind of thing like we are, to get more enjoyment out of it, that's how we just had to view it. Like,
yeah, because you and I had talked about it. I was like, when, you know, once we're done ranking and stuff, could I go play this game again later? Yeah. I'll just ignore all of it. I think for us, it gets comical about certain things. Like, I wish sometimes we have like we'll send each other like voice notes, and it's so funny because I'm like, be so serious that this just happened. Like, I can't even take it. I also would say I was so much younger, so sometimes the younger mindset of me, I'm like, I swooned over it. I was like, oh my god, that was so romantic. But me as a 28-year-old, I'm like, that seemed unhinged. That's crazy.
Yeah, like certain things that happen, I'm like, okay, that was actually cheesy, and like that was formulaic, or like that was a little too predictable. Like certain things, I want to say, like, when we first played this game, we probably would have been like 10 out of 10 out of 10 for like everything because we loved it so much. And I don't think it stood the test of time of like now our more critical analytical minds since we're also game makers. So if this is your favorite game, like, don't think we're like totally bashing it because it is super cute and cozy and I love it. Like,
this is my top 5 Otome
It's
game.
definitely in my top 5.
3 years ago, we would have said, like, before Evermore and how much we've learned from that point to what we're trying to develop even going forward. Like, 3 years ago, we would have been like 10.
Yeah,
10
across the board.
I think 2 people would have been like, like, you know what I mean? And I know which 2, so.
Yeah, you guys will know here soon too. But I do want to say that, like, comparing it, because like, so for Dreamy Days, it's another game that it was my first Otome game, one of your first, and so I felt the same way where I loved it. But looking back, I feel like it stood the test of time a little bit better than this one. And I think that might be due to the fact that it's not formulaic too. So like we were talking about how our game, like My Love for You is Evermore, each route you're doing a different thing. Like you have a different project, a whole different, like it takes you in a completely different direction every single time. There's no formula to the routes. Whereas because of the way that this game is set up just by nature, there's a formula because every single time you have the same mission.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I think maybe kind of like soured me on it a little more is because like by the end I was like, dang, I've seen this so many times now. Like,
yeah, because you can have something that has to have in common. So another good voltage game that I like love, 10 Days with My Devil. The commonality is that she has 10 days to live, so she has to choose.
Next.
Yes. She has to choose who is gonna like watch over her as she's doing it. But that everything is so uniquely different. The only common is she only has so many time frames.
Yeah.
Like that's so many such a small timeline. Sorry, and that makes more sense. And the same thing, like Otomes have to have a small part of it that is very similar to how all of them get to the end of the prologue.
Yeah, because like how did you meet all of them within that short prologue? But I think like sometimes like certain plots allow or certain settings allow for more differentiation.
Yeah, whereas it only allowed what was going to happen. And so yeah, like that Evermore is a good example. Or even though Snow Kiss is on a little hiatus right now, she's gonna get it done. Snow Kiss is the same thing. You are in a set place. However,
but we were more crafty with the
So I think once you give it like this has to occur no matter what, this has to be the forefront. It only allows this to be the growth of it. So much chaotic stuff can happen, but it's only because this is the set of it. And if you don't focus on it, it runs off the rails. And actually one of the routes do that where you're like, I think they forgot what we were supposed to be
What we were initially here for.
Yeah. So again, this isn't us like crapping out. I love the game. And again, I'll go play Hugh's route a bunch more times.
Yeah, I go play after stories. Like we're just going to be covering the main stories, but they have a lot of great after stories in this one. Like I really enjoy Star-Crossed Myth as a whole. I think the best parts about it is the music, the characters, the theming. Points where I would say is a little weaker is sometimes the art can be inconsistent, like background art specifically.
That's a voltage thing too.
That's just like a general voltage issue. Like sometimes you'll be in this beautiful like celestial moon and like stars and it looks amazing, and then the next CG will be like you in like a back street of Tokyo and it looks like black outlines that are like shaking and you're like, oh, that's interesting. Also the villains, like I don't know. I just wasn't really into how cheesy they made them look. Like they had like these like little face tattoos and the capes. Yeah, like it was a little bit cheesy, whereas I feel like it's 50-50 on this game because the main characters and like their outfits like 99% of the time look really good. So
I wish they would have given more detail to the minions or something, or make them so faceless that it didn't matter. Like
they felt like a joke kind of. I don't know if you guys have seen like a lot of like Sailor Moon or like old Precure and things like that. It's like the villains are a joke sometimes, and that's kind of the vibe that it gave. So if you're okay with that, then maybe it won't bother you, but it bothered me a little. I was like, could you do a little more?
I'm good. But
is there anything else you want to say like about the general plot of the game?
No, because we'll totally get into the main stories of things that just happened. So as we go, we're gonna start from the shits to top hits. Like
yes, like I would say there's 2 routes that are like the shits to me, and then the other ones are top 10s. Even if they're like a lower score because we're being very critical, they're ones that I would play again and I would recommend. But starting it off, we also, before we even ranked them, we set aside like which 3 I was going to discuss and which 3 she was going to discuss randomly. And it pretty much did work out to alternate back and forth between us, except for like one point at the end. Yeah. So it's going to start with me, and then it's going to be you. and then me, and then you twice, and then me ending it. So that's how it's gonna be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, you and I are so like, Kayla and I say this, like, we're basically like twins, just like that got separated within like the gods being like, okay, like you have to go here and you have to go here.
Yeah.
We're the same in like everything.
I know, but it will be interesting because there are a few little points in this where we did disagree, so I think that'll make for interesting discussion because a lot of times we're just like, and yes, we feel the same, and yes. So, the worst rated route, and we'll go over the actual score that we give them, like with our different categories as we normally do after I break down the route, but the worst rated route for both of us was Teo. He's the god of Taurus, and I really wanted to like him because he is a Taurus, but he really doesn't match that, as you'll see, and I'll go into more. So he starts from the original prologue. So he's part of the original 6 with the Mark of Sin. So you're there at the Planetarium Star Festival event. As soon as he saves you, he stops time, so you know his power right away, which this is something that's really interesting, but like, certain times they have their power be like this bombshell that they bring up in like the 10th chapter, and then sometimes they just tell you like right away, and it's like not a big deal.
And did you notice though that like in certain one of theirs that like they either can't use her powers at all, or as long as she's in the vicinity, they can use them?
Yeah, like sometimes they have to like physically be touching her, and then other times like she can just be in the room. Like they're a little inconsistent with that. But so for Teo, right away, he's like flirting with you. He's supposed to be like the Prince Charming-esque, but like to me, he's just like giving sleazeball. The route starts with like everything that's going on. He takes you to like the mansion, as with all of them, and he gives you a little tour, and that's when you realize that he's kind of extremely busy. Like he gets lost in his own place of residence, basically. And so she thinks about that, and then he takes his shirt off like right away to like show you his Mark of Sin, whereas the other gods, they don't really like show you it, so he just like came out there. Like
it felt very, to me, and like let me know your thoughts, very random, like that there was no reason for that to happen.
Things with Teo, a lot of times in his route, like it's just like skip to me taking my shirt off, and I'm like, I did Kyosuke. But like
no. I think Kyosuke has plenty of reasons, because look at how he looks.
Yeah.
It's enough for me.
Have you seen that TikTok sound that's like daddy, daddy, and it's like a daddy long leg? That's what I think of.
Hey, daddy, daddy, oh my God.
Anyways, so he shows you his little sticker 90s tattoo that they all have that is their Mark of Sin. And then I do wish right here that MC would have reacted closer to how I felt in that moment, because he was like being extremely like over the toply flirtatious and very full of himself. And I wish she would have thought in her head like, oh, he's full of himself. Like she does that with other guys. But in her head, her internal thoughts here was like, oh, he's hot.
I don't think he's hot.
I don't think he's hot. We'll put him on the screen. Like he just really isn't for me. It was giving me like honestly more Leo than even Leo. Like it wasn't giving me Taurus. Like it was giving me Leo vibes. Like how he was like very like in the center of attention, or maybe even Gemini. I don't know. It was not giving me Taurus.
I totally agree though, because for me, they have only known each other at this point for at most like 30 minutes, and she was just irritated with him for losing him in the house, which I felt was manipulative, that he was like, oh, like, show me around this big house they don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you know that you can use your powers when you touch her at this point, by this point. You could have easily snapped your fingers to get where you needed to go.
Exactly. There's a lot of times where they just selectively don't use their powers, and that's another, like, weird inconsistency. But anyways, also, yeah, like you were saying, like it was very soon after they met, and Tauruses, like one of the trademark things is that they're very stable, slow, and steady, so they take a long time to warm up to somebody, so like that's like just very off base. So then he realizes that touching you makes his powers work like even better. So to prove it, he asks you for anything you want to eat, and he touches your shoulder while it's doing that, and then you say you want a pork bun, and then that appears. So Leon was also there, and I wrote a note. Everything Leon says just makes me want to be on his route instead of Taurus. But anyways,
he called her unsexy, huh? He's like, what an unsexy thing to ask for is pork buns. And I honestly kind of was like, honestly, yeah.
I want you.
Yeah, like, honestly, you're right.
When he called me unsexy and looked at me like I was a speck of dirt, like that was it. That's what I wanted.
Because here's the thing, for me, like I would have probably asked for something like gluttonous, and then as I'm eating, I'm like, wow, I don't look attractive at all, so I'm gonna just ram it in my
I should have asked for like some dainty little butter cookies or something. But anyways, the next day, Teo appears to just ask you on a date. Like that's the other thing. It's like I didn't like that they didn't transition it. Like, so how did she leave the mansion and get back home? Like it was just like all of a sudden it was the next day, and then he was like, let's go on a date.
He opens the door. He opens the door.
Well, I know sometimes they do, like that's how it works, but like they don't show it in Teo's route. Like they don't, like it just cuts. Like
I swear I thought, oh wait, you're right. I get so confused because all of them do it and make it a very big point to say it.
Yeah, there's even a background of this door, but mind you, but they just didn't do it in Teo's. Okay. That's why like I notated it. So anyways, he asks you to show him around planet Earth, and I wrote, this is nitpicky of me, but they hit you with like a side street CG, or not CG, BG, that they use in like every Voltage game, and it is like my least favorite background, and I'll have to put it on the screen for you guys, but do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, and the only one that it honestly makes, the only game that I think it honestly makes sense is Kissed by the Bad Spirit Bitter in Soryu's route, because it's scaby and you get robbed.
Yeah, like it just like, also it's just not drawn very well. Like I'm not a big fan of it. But anyways, Teo immediately starts being insufferable and flirting with every single girl that walks by. And has a pulse, and it basically turns into like a traffic danger because you're on this side street and all the girls are like kind of crowding around. So the police come to like shut it down, and then you guys are just like basically make a run for it. Like, not to reference a TikTok sound again, but when they're like, that's interesting, well, they run away. Like that's what it gave me. So he gets an outfit next because she's like, you're drawing too much attention, like we need to get you an outfit. This is another thing that's different in every single route. Like sometimes they just snap and pick their own outfit, sometimes they already have an outfit, sometimes they have to look and see what human clothes look like before they snap and get the outfit.
And the one they landed on is like wolf.
For Teo? Yes. Yeah, it's like a little banana sherbet looking combo. Like, but he looks alright, I guess. Then you go to eat, and Teo confesses that he really likes milk and would drink it a lot in the heavens, even though he doesn't need to, because none of them need to like eat or sleep.
His stomach would hurt. Oh
yeah. God. But MC says, oh, he likes milk because he's a Taurus, and Tauruses are cows. And I really love cows. Cows are like one of my favorite animals, but Taurus is a bull. Like, let's just be for real right now. Like, bull is like, I know bulls and cows are related, but like, I've never heard anyone be like, oh, the symbol of Taurus is a cow.
No, I've never,
just not.
It doesn't look like the cow that I know.
Yeah, it's a bull. Anyways, he then talks about the fact that he just can't be monogamous. So that's just a lovely romantic time.
He doesn't give a reason. He just says, I have to give my love to everyone.
Everyone equally, yeah. But he doesn't, because he gives it to only women. So it's like that. That's like kind of his problem. Like the gods are like, why are you only granting women's wishes? But anyways.
I love that when Leo points that out later. It's like, who the hell told you that was okay?
And they call back to it in other routes too. I can't remember whose route it was. Yes, that's what it is.
Who told you it was okay to do that? And Teo is like, well, whoopsie.
He's like, I don't know what just happened. I did like how MC reacted here because she like right away is like, well, I think you should have like only one partner. Like that's like what true love is, and like she kind of gives her explanation, and he's just like, anyways, like, I don't know, brushes it off. He doesn't ever really engage with things that MC says, which is something that bothered me. He's not a very good listener. Like he just kind of is self-absorbed, and he doesn't like notice anything about her like other guys do.
They never really have that in-depth convos about like little things until in the one convo they have.
Yeah. And so that pretty much ends that scene. Then the next day at work, we have a standard scene where your best friend, Hiyori, that you work with, misunderstands the god that you're working with to be your boyfriend. That happens in like literally every single route. And it makes me furious because she's like, oh, it's your boyfriend. Other gods would be like, yeah, that works to make it easy or whatever, like to explain like why I'm with you. Instead, like Teo just like ignores what she says and like starts hitting on Hiyori. And it made me so mad. Like, it's so disrespectful to be with a guy you're supposed to like be romantically involved with, and he just like hits on another girl in front of you.
What kills me though is that he keeps referring to her as his goddess. So like, to the outside eye, it sounds so like sweet. You know what I mean? Like, I'll use your dad in example. This calls your dad the love of her life when she addresses him.
Yes, it's funny because we actually call her goddess. Like,
yeah.
Well, I don't want to dox her. I don't know the truth, like, if we say her name, so I'll, like, beep it out. But I have, my dad's, like, long-term girlfriend slash fiance. She, like, does names for people. So, like, she used to call my dad Master Chef, but now she calls him love of her life. She calls me princess. And then, like, any of my friends, too, she calls Yana princess. And then, like, we call her goddess, but yeah. It would be cute. That would be a cute thing. Like, they do try sometimes to put things in. It's just so shallow with Teo. I don't buy it for a second that he feels that I'm special.
Right, you're 100% like, for you to hit on my friend, but you tell everybody, like, to them, they think it's so, that you're so sweet to me because you're saying, like, oh, she's my one and only goddess, or like, please treat my goddess correct. But his actual meaning behind it is that you are the goddess that he needs so that he can ascend. Like, his isn't any sweetness to it in
It's
any
just
way.
using you. Like, he does use all the other girls for basically attention. But here, he's basically like not wanting to separate with you and let you work because he's like, I want to be with you all the time. That's the only one thing that is like a Taurus thing. They can be clingy. It usually takes a long time to get there with somebody, but like, we are a little clingy. Like, I don't like when Michael goes to work like any day. Like, he goes every day, so it sucks. But anyways, that's I'm just having a breakdown. I haven't been okay. I'm just kidding. But anyways, that was like the one trait that I felt was like, okay, that's kind of like a Taurus thing.
We've lived together since we were like 18.
Yeah.
No, we've actually lived together on and off damn near our whole lives.
Yeah, like we cling on to like people and relationships in general too. Like, we're in it for the long haul as a Taurus. Like, we're best friends since childhood. We're always gonna be best friends. Like, that's what it is. I'm not gonna go get other best friends. Like, I'm just not that type of bitch. But yeah. Anyways. Where am I in this
So
dog?
then she, like, you were saying that, like,
Oh yeah, he doesn't want to separate. But she's like, I have to go to work, sorry. And then he goes out like into the bushes. I think that's when that scene happens. But you have like a little lunch break time. And you go outside and yeah, that is the bushes. I wrote it right here. He's like looking around in the bushes. So that's kind of a cute thing, is like he does get lost, but it's like, again, it's like all about him. And I kind of would like a little more focus on like the MC. Like, what does he like about the MC? Like, I don't know. I just felt that way about it. Then she starts to think to herself that like, maybe he's, because of the neediness thing, maybe it's that he wants attention and not love. Like, he wants to be popular and like have attention on him and not be alone, which they don't really explore that much. But like, that was one thought that she had that I was like, that's a good thought.
Which would have been such a good thing to explore, because
that would have
like,
been a better
made
plot
his
point.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So then it skips forward a bit and Teo summons you to the mansion, and the first thing you see is a woman standing at the front door. And then it like cuts to the next chapter.
And they don't even tell you how they find these places. Like,
No.
how did Teo tell her how to get there?
Right, and it's just like, he's like, oh, I forgot I invited someone here. It's like, and how did you invite? So that's the other thing, like them having phones, they don't have like phones in this, and it would have made so much more sense if they did have phones, because he would have texted her the Addy, you know what I mean?
And what kills me, because as a woman, I'm petrified to get murdered, right? So if a man was like, hey, in this abandoned mansion in the woods, meet me there, you're like, absolutely not doing that.
Like, and you're not with him, so he can't be using his god powers to like get her to like feel a certain way. But it's some girl that he just met when he was out and invited to the freaking god mansion, which is crazy to me, because it's like, I feel like maybe you don't want to blow your cover. They don't ever say that, but I just feel like, what are you doing inviting other humans around here? But, because you're not supposed to tell anyone. Like, whenever he comes around, you don't want to tell Hiyori he's a god, but like, we can just invite people to the mansion.
And also, I wanted to say, who would believe you even if you said that?
No one.
No one.
If you see the mansion, though, you might believe it.
Even that, I wouldn't believe. I'd just be like, they're kind of rich and they're like, maybe
They're cosplaying.
European.
Yeah.
You and me, you did the holiday baby.
So those outfits are just giving cosplay.
Well, they say they're European a lot. Like, a lot
They
of them
do
assume
that, yeah.
about them. And so, and you're right, it's either cosplay or European. It's like never anything else.
There's
but
no mix.
I would always ask, like, if you told me, like, hey, this guy that I'm like always with, he's a god, I'd been like, okay. All right.
Anyways, moving on.
I would just say it so that you'd stop saying it. And then
Yeah, you would just be like, I see you really like him, like, but just know, I don't, so stop.
You don't tell me. I don't want to convince me anything else.
But anyways, MC is obviously like, why the hell am I here? Because he called her there if you just have another bitch here. And he's like, oh, like, I don't know, like, my mistake, can you just go show her around? So he has you show around his new side bitch.
She's dumb though, because she does it.
Yeah, but she does it. And you think maybe that girl is like special to him, but then you realize that he can't even remember the girl's name, and he just doesn't really care about her. Like, it just happened to it, like he just said whatever in the moment, and she ended up actually coming. So then when they get to the room, Teo is like, oh, we're not going in there. And then you're like, oh, why? And like, it turns out like his room is like special to him and off limits for the girls.
They don't go into enough detail about it though. It's actually very
They
weird.
don't. Yeah. He takes the girl home at that point, like since the room is like the stopping point, and then you end up just chatting with the other gods in the living room about Teo, and that's when Hugh just like gives the plot. Like at that point, Hugh just like tells you everything. He gives you the backstory about Teo, and it's really ironic that they have Hugh be the one to do it, because it's like when we get to Hugh's, it's like he wouldn't be doing that. But anyways, he explains that Teo's father is the reason that he's like this. His father was famous for womanizing people in the heavens, and so while he was busy with that and he was completely ignoring his fatherly duties to Teo. So he would even like kick Teo out as a child, like just out on the street, just so he could go like knock some boots with Strange. Like, it was crazy. So that would be why he like feels like he needs attention. But the thing is, you don't see that, you just hear it from Hugh. That's what I didn't like.
He doesn't do the actions of it. Because he's a god, all these girls go around him, so he actually is getting what he wants. It would have been more interesting to see it like where he is so flirtatious and so in women's faces, like, you're so wonderful, or, oh, I hate to say this TikTok sound, but skin whiskers, like that.
Yes.
Vibe, because if he did that, that actually would have been better to see, because now her opinion is, even though it's correct, he wants all of this attention, he actually gets it. So it's like...
Yeah, like he's filling the hole in his heart. Like he's doing what he has to do. But yeah, that's another thing is like there are multiple types within the game that are flirtatious, but they just do it like in a much more like appealing way. Like Teo's like style of flirt is like weird. Like I don't know, it just is like a little
just
soft.
A baby.
Yeah, it's like a baby thing. Like, yeah, they basically just tell you right there why Teo is trying to fill the hole in his heart with women, and then they mention that's why he doesn't let any woman in his room, because he never just truly gives his heart to a woman. He's just using them in the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I said here, the issue I have with that is that that's just plainly stating the entire plot of his route. They don't slowly let you find these things out.
No.
It's just given to you by a third party, and that's really poor writing in my opinion. Anyways, then Teo pops in and is like, don't be sad for me, I don't care, and tells Hugh not to say weird things about him behind his back. And then they go to the balcony, and I guess they have like a little connection moment here. It's hard because every time he says anything to her, it just feels like empty words to me.
Yeah.
Like it just feels fruitless flirtation. But the one other thing I did note here is that it makes no sense, and it makes no sense because she says the reason she loves the stars is oh yeah, that's right. The reason she loves the stars is because she can't see them in Tokyo, and that's why she works at the planetarium, so she can at least see them like projected and like learn about them. But she constantly wishes on stars at her balcony throughout all of the routes, and even in the prologue, you can see them in all of the background art. There's stars everywhere. So that makes literally no sense. You also tell him that you want to know more about his past, and he's like, humans always want more. And it's like, you're the one who always wants more women and attention. So that didn't make sense to me either. It's like, I feel like gods are the ones that want more. Like, it's not the human. I don't know, weird. Anyways, the next day after work, Teo picks you up for a little walk, which turns into flying over the city so that Teo can grant some wishes and like actually do some work for once, you know what I mean? And
they do not do work that often.
I know, and the way they do it in each route is different too, because he just like grants any little old wish like as they're flying through the skies, whereas in other routes they say it has to be a super strong wish and it will come to like the little pond, and that's the only way they can grant wishes.
He says that though. He says that normally they can't do small wishes because they're not around to hear them.
Yeah.
The strong ones get up there.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Okay, so I guess that does make sense then. But then, oh, another thing he says is like that they do it completely randomly and it has to be equal, which isn't the case with him. Like, cause he is picking and choosing. Like, even though he's saying that he's doing it randomly, like it like proves his point that that's not what's happening because he's only doing cute girls.
No offense though, how is any of it equal if you're not granting everybody's wishes?
It can't possibly be. Like, it's not equal because it's like the strongest ones only usually.
The fundamentalness of it of being like the strongest wishes get there, but we have to love all humans equally. Like, then that would actually defeat the purpose of your job.
Yeah. And somehow this whole like him only granting wishes to cute girls, like, oh, I wish this guy that I went on a date with would call me, and then he grants it, that like makes MC like Teo. Because he's like, he cares about the small details, like, I guess.
What detail? Right?
I don't know, like, he's like, he lets even the little wishes shine through, like, that's like how she felt. But this is the wildest part to me. The last wish that he grants is this innocent little boy. He just says, I wish I could have a dream about dinosaurs tonight. Like, just a cute little wish. And Teo refuses to grant it. He's like, little boys like that are cheaters and they just get girls without trying, so I'm not gonna grant his wish.
It's like,
what? He's a little kid.
Kettle.
He's a tiny little kid, and MC finds that cute of Teo. Like, I thought that was so childish of him and like hypocritical, like you said. And she just convinces him to just be fair and grant the wish. Like, he said he was fair, so he should do it. So Teo reluctantly does it, and I just like really hated that scene. But then again, it cuts to Teo just taking off his shirt again on Tokyo Tower. Not really sure how they got there.
Yeah.
And he just shows that the mark is fading. And then he hugs MC really hard and she almost falls, so he has to catch her so that there can be like a moment. I just felt like it was really Jimmy hammered in. Like it wasn't
make any sense.
It was random.
I don't even the mark going away made less sense because he's not doing anything to work on himself to earn it. Like
yeah, like the only thing I can think of is I guess that he ended up granting the wish of the little boy when he normally wouldn't have.
it's only because she told him to.
But she like made him, yeah.
He didn't do it all because he really in his heart wanted to. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Right. He hasn't learned anything at this point. So then it cuts to another day back at the mansion where they run into Scorpio, who admonishes them for granting stupid peon wishes. Love him. This also made me want to be on Scorpio's route. Then
Okay, Kiara.
every character that came in, I was like, please let me go over there. Then when Teo tries to defend you, Scorp is like, oh, I see you fell for her. You must be sinning again. So that kind of plants a seed in your heart of like what happened there, like what is his actual sin? Because you at this point don't really know what made him fall from grace.
I don't remember.
I hope I wrote it because this was like the first one I played, so I don't really remember either. But then Altair comes in and says, Altair, by the way, there's Altair and Vega. They're like these little cutie cherub gods.
So cute. I love
So
Altair's
adorable.
little worried face.
I know. The one thing I will say about the Switch version is the way they place them on the screen. It just plugs up their entire face. It looks really rough. But anyways, Altair comes in and says he needs your help. So you, Teo, and Vega go to help him with some task that he had to do for the gods of punishments. And he was like freaking out because he couldn't figure it out and he needed help because he's little.
Yeah.
And it's a cute scene only because Vega and Altair clearly like each other. So it kind of like shows them, like the cuties, and you see them interacting. That's like the main thing of the scene. Once they finish the chore, Hugh comes in and talks to MC alone. And MC asks him about what Teo's sin was because she was wondering about that from earlier. And he says that he thinks it was Teo loving people unequally and that they absolutely can't fall in love. Like, oh yeah, that's right. He also was like, you, by the way, just so you know, like don't get too close to him because humans and gods can't be together.
Nice.
Which is like a thing in every single route. But it feels so like arbitrary and predictable to me at this point, and it's clear that Teo needs to learn how to love because clearly the whole thing is set up for MC to teach him that. So it feels dumb that that rule is even there all the time. Like every time they bring it up, it means nothing because obviously you end up with every single guy. But it ends up really depressing MC when he says that. So she doesn't even want to see Teo anymore. That's one thing I can agree with her on. I don't want to see his ass again. Mm-hmm. But you end up wandering into oncoming traffic because you're lost in thought about Teo, and then he pops up and saves you, of course. And though you just said you don't want to see him, you're happy he's there and you're like, let's go shopping and cook a meal together. So that again was like, how did you get from, I don't want to see him anymore, let me distance myself, and then the second he's there, you're like, oh, let's go shopping. Weird. Yeah. So you make him some stew and you chat for a little bit, and then all of a sudden he falls ill, and it's due to his mark of sin fading really rapidly at this point, which I don't understand why, because again, the only thing that happened was that one thing, and it's because she told him to do it.
And I don't understand, I can't remember what the king says his sin is, because obviously he says it, but...
Yeah, I mean, Hugh says that it's loving people unequally.
Oh, that's what it would be.
Yeah, but in the end of it, like when the king comes in and stuff, like it's just that he needed to learn to love, like and that's what all of them are.
Vain.
Yeah, all of them end up like all of whatever their sin is always a front for that. But anyways,
there's a lot of money laundering front.
You put him in bed and you hear him start to call out to his dad when he's asleep. And like to me, I was like, this would have been a way better way for her to find out that he has this thing with his dad, because she could ask him about it because she heard him saying it in his sleep, rather than Hugh just giving away the whole plot like in chapter 3. Because at this point we're in like chapter 9.
You know Hugh was fed up. He was like, listen, this is what happened. Please hurry up. Like, I can't do this.
And overall, though, this was my favorite scene in the game with Teo, like, because he showed, like, some likableness of them being together. They kind of had some sweet moments with sharing the food. Like, that's probably the most romantic it got, in my opinion, was just this one little part.
Yeah, the stew thing.
Yeah. And then as you're setting up for the day, Teo says he wants to repay you with a wish because you took care of him, like, while he was, like, having that mark thing and, like, being really tired. And you end up telling him that what you think about his desires for love from girls, which is interesting because it's like, I don't understand how we got there. So he's like, oh, like, let me grant you a wish to repay you. And you're like, you know what, Teo? I think you just tell him what you think.
She does in pretty much all the routes, but she just says shit to them, and I'm like, not time and place.
You ask if he only wants to grant your wish just to make you fall for him. Like, that's like, I guess what triggers it. I wrote it. And you say that. Me like contradicting myself. But you say that it'll never make him feel whole again to just keep collecting other girls' affections, and that he is the one that needs to love someone. And you tell him it's your wish for him to find true love. And then
that was really sad, and for me, that also, to me, it makes the romance not great, because she says, my hope is that you find that person one day. To me, you say, right. It ain't me.
Because in every other route, her wish is always like, I want to be with him. Like, I love him so much. I want him to return my feelings. Like, that's like what it should have been. But in this moment, this has now become the worst scene in the game, because Teo immediately turns scary. Like, usually he has like a little doughy expression, and then all of a sudden he went like dark mode. And this part like kind of shook me, because his whole face changes, and then he just pushes you onto the bed, and it kind of reminds me of that Oron scene. Remember how Kyoya, when they go to the beach, he's like tries to teach her a lesson and like puts her on the bed? It gave me that vibe, because it's like you weren't expecting it. It was like all of a sudden there he is, and he tries to scare you and just like take advantage of you. Like he straight up is like, just show me what love is, then show me.
You know so much, and since you got your degree,
you know every fucking thing.
She says no multiple times.
Yeah, she's like, no, please stop. And he's like, no, I'm gonna take what I want.
And she
like
tries to fight her way out, and she can't.
And it's like scary. Like, it's not like a teasy, like flirty thing that like, oh, maybe it was a little too far, but like he's really not gonna do anything. Like, no, he was like hands on his pants, like trigger warning. Tell him there, like, while he has you, and you're like, I heard you calling for your dad in your sleep. Like, that's what made me say something. And Teo tells you himself more about that, still while being all scary and mean though. He's just like, yeah, my dad just left me for doing whatever. It's like, so he basically just says all the things Hugh already said. And then he says that's why he believes in freely giving love, and that you should just do that for him right now. But before Teo can fully do anything, Leon and Hugh show up to stop him. And you actually defend Teo,
so bad.
Which made me so mad, and said it only happened because you were being insensitive and not to darken his mark. But because they said they were gonna re-darken his mark because like he clearly didn't learn.
Oh, it darkened again.
Yes, and they won't listen to you, and they're like, sorry, that's what's gonna have to happen, and they like drag him away to the mansion. And as Teo's being dragged off, he mutters, there's no time, and you wonder what that means. While I didn't enjoy this happening at all, I at least like that we saw Teo's fake act drop for the first time, because it's like now chapter 10. The pacing is like really awful in this route. Like, that's the first time we see anything other than his fake facade, and it wasn't good what we saw underneath. But as the days pass, you wonder what's been going on with Teo, and you miss granting wishes with him. Like, you just start missing him a lot and like realizing you love him, basically.
You do want a job with him, and you're like, I miss doing that. Like, what?
And after work, that same day that you're thinking about that, Leo ends up coming to pick you up. You thought it was going to be Teo, but it was Leo. Them rhyming makes me laugh.
Teo and Leo. I would have flipped out. I'm like, oh my god, Leon.
I know, seriously, I would have been like, jump the boat.
Because remember, they were like, oh my god, some like really good looking guy out there. I will say I kind of feel for it, because can you imagine supposedly the guy that you like, and it's not the guy you like, and you're like, this piece of shit.
I know, but for me, I was like, thank God.
Or like Leon wouldn't care, but I feel like, you know who would care is either Hugh or randomly Scorpio would get pissy because it's like, you're not excited.
I'm not good enough for you? Yeah, oh my god.
Well, you weren't the one I was expecting, I'm so sorry.
When you get to the mansion, he drops it on you that the balance of time, night and day, has been off all over the planet, and we know that Teo is the god of time, so you kind of like assume that it has something to do with him. And I want to mention here that Teo being the god of time makes very little sense, because Father Time is represented by Saturn, or in Greek mythology is Kronos, and both of those figures represent hardship, learning lessons, and generally being a taskmaster, whereas Taurus is all about like pleasure and fun. So that like doesn't like match for me. And they're exalted in the sign of Libra, so it would have made more sense for like Libra to have the time ability. But anyways, they say that Teo's mark has gotten like a lot darker, and he's being very emotionally unstable, which again is not a Taurus trait at all. Like, stable is like what we are. Emotionally unstable would be like Pisces or Cancer. Sailor Moon. But anyways, Teo just blankly comes in briefly and then leaves, and you try to form a plan with the other gods. The other gods really do shine in this route, I noted, because they had banter, and like that was the only time I was enjoying myself, was like when they were around. They decide that in the meantime, you should just help the other gods and you can choose to help. No, this pisses me off. They go, you can either help wishes, punishments, or neither. Like, it came up as a choice. So it's like, okay, like, I'll do wishes, like, to stick with, like, in the same realm. And then it's like, anyways, the next day, like, cuts to the scene. I'm on a job with Ichthys, helping the Department of Punishments.
That was so dumb.
I was like, then why are we here?
Don't give me the choice.
Your choices really mean jack shit in this whole game. Like, it's insane. And there's, like, really no bad ending. There's just, like, forbidden and blessed.
And the forbidden still ends the same way as blessed.
It's the same as blessed. It's just a different CG. So you're there with Ichthys, and he shows you how he punishes the bad guys, and it just makes you miss working with Teo because it was more nice and heartwarming and, like, less serious when you were working with Teo. But I don't know.
It wasn't serious when working with Teo. And Ichthys is the same way. His is just punishment. Ichthys makes a funny joke because she's clearly depressed, and she's like, I'm so glad to go on a date with you. Like, no, time and place.
Not to bring up another TikTok sound, but it's like sucking dick and cock. Like, oh my god.
Time and place.
You did it at my birthday dinner. Okay. So then another day, you go help Leo at the mansion in the fountain room, and it ends up being just another way for you to miss Teo again because he's granting from the reflecting pool versus like being out in the city. This is where Leo explains that in the reflecting pool, small wishes won't make it. It's only strong wishes. So this corrects the confusion earlier. So I wrote this like as I was playing. So that's why earlier I was like, this doesn't make sense. And then I'm like, oh, now it does. But anyways, you start thinking like small happinesses are so important to humans though. So the fact that they don't grant those is like a problem for you, I guess. And like that makes Teo special to you in your heart. So then Leon brings up how Teo's heart may not be suffering like his, okay, this was so fucking confusing. So Leon goes, Teo's heart's not suffering like his body is. And you're like, what?
Body, like,
like, what does that have to do with anything? And he's like, you asked to, like, can you explain that for me? And he's like, well, if you don't get it, just like act on instinct. And you're like,
I don't know. You're like, I don't know what that means, Leon.
And then he's like, just go. And you're like, okay. And you go.
Say that. Just say, go help him.
You go to Teo's room.
They think it's me off sometimes because they say cryptic shit. And you're like, I don't know anything about you. You don't know me. We don't know anything about each other. You're just saying shit. Like, I would say sometimes that has to be a barrier of language, right? Because they are just automatically translating probably to her, like, thing or whatever. So they're probably like mistranslating shit constantly because she's like, what?
Yes, God, because she's like, you're not communicating correctly with me for a human. But what's crazy is like she just goes to Teo's room and he just lets her in. Like it's no big deal. Like they don't make, like even though that was built up, yeah, it looked like a sun god room and like that's just like not, that'd be like more of a Leo thing.
But I get why, because I guess if he's controlling the time and all of that stuff, it's like he's viewed as that way.
Oh, I guess you could put it that way. It's just like within like,
but you know.
within mythology, they always say like Saturn controls time. So like I just like I didn't connect it. Like when they put it, I was like, okay. But immediately he just comes in and he's all dark again still. And he's like, you just came to sleep with me, didn't you? And it's like, no.
I never wanted to, but
no. And once again, she's like, this is all my fault that he's trying to rape me again because I was insensitive.
Me off. I was like, what? She's like, none of this. Sometimes the pick me energy comes out of her so bad because she's like, if I just wouldn't have said that, like he wouldn't be here. Like, seems like maybe if he didn't, you know, sin royally, then we wouldn't be here at all.
Yeah, and then also if he just wouldn't have reacted that way. Like, let's just speak like adults here.
You know?
He yells at her saying that she talked like she knew everything about him and she doesn't know anything. And if she really loves him, then can she guess how he really feels? And then that's when he confesses that he is in love with her. And it's like, this was just so lackluster. Like, I was like, oh my God. So it's like, why were you being an asshole then? Like, if you love me. Then he falls to the floor in pain because his mark starts to get really dark and she stays by him. All the gods file in, get him to lay down, and after a while, he starts feeling a little bit better. But MC thinks back to how Hugh said that he can't play favorites with a human, and like clearly he is if he just confessed love to her. So it's against the law for them to even be together. So she decides to leave, and then Teo runs after her, and he says the pain of his sin mark darkening is nothing compared to the pain of losing her. And he confesses that he wants to be with her no matter what, and she reciprocates. And then the king's voice. So in every other route, like the king actually appears. But in this route, it's just the king's voice shining down with a white like white light. Teo says he doesn't need the love of just anyone and everyone anymore, but he only wants the MC's love. And the king says they still can't be together. And then Teo is like, I'll accept any punishment for it. And the passion that he has in that moment feels very unearned because it really wasn't that long ago that he was a womanizer or trying to hurt her, so I was confused.
It's like 3 chapters ago, actually.
And then, of course, in a twist of fate, his sin mark is totally removed, and the king says that was the true test, and his sin was not truly understanding love and how precious that it can be. And he basically passed that test, so he's like allowed to be with her.
On the earth!
Yeah. So then they go back to the mansion and they fill everyone in about how they're allowed to be together, and they're like, okay, well now can you fix me? Like, he's all good, like it's our turn. And MC says she can't really do that because their sins require specific lessons, and still they all want her to pick who's the next god to help. But Teo says, I'm not gonna let you do that. And they run off together to fly above the city and grant more wishes together.
I would jump them, honestly. I would probably, you'd have to see me in the sky.
After that, they return to her condo, and he says that her telling him about himself and that he needs to know true precious love is what made him fall in love with her instantly. And he asks if she will, is that why you try to rape her? If she will continue to be his one and only goddess, and then he pushes you on the bed again. This time, I guess it's consentingly, and then they like hook up sexually for the first time, and that ends Teo's route.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So with that, let me tell you what my rank was for each of the categories, and then I'll pass it to Jan to give her rank and her thoughts on it, and then we'll see what his combined score was. So our categories are personality, romance, plot, allies, character, love interests, character development, and then the main character. So for personality, I gave him a 2 out of 10 because it's not accurate to Taurus in any way, shape, or form. He let his circumstances make him, and he was unwilling to dare to be different. Like, I didn't like that he tried to like forge his own way. Like, he just like became a victim to his circumstances. And I see like Taurus as like a very strong sign, and I just like felt like he didn't have that resilience. And then other traits he has were being emotional and unpredictable, and that's like the complete opposite of Taurus, which their trademarks are stable and predictable. The only accurate thing was the neediness to be close to a loved one, so that's why I gave him like any points, because he was like a little accurate. But yeah, 2 out of 10. Romance, I also gave a 2 out of 10 because it really wasn't romantic at all. He was just flirting with other women the whole entire time, including your best friend. The only time he turns his attention to you is when he tried to literally rape you. I was very focused on him having daddy issues, and I felt like it overtook the romance. It was like all about him, not about them, if you know what I mean. There are some moments where they do try though, like the cooking the food, so that's why I even gave it 2 points. Then for plot, I gave it a 4 out of 10. They just kind of tell you the plot rather than letting it happen most of the time. There were some engaging parts. It wasn't like completely boring, like the ensemble cast kind of saved it for me at times, but it just really wasn't well executed. That's why I landed on a 4 out of 10. Then the love interest character development, I gave a 2 out of 10 because there was no explanation whatsoever as to how he suddenly isn't a womanizer anymore. It was just like piss poor to me. Like, there was really no development. Like, he did change, but they didn't develop it. So that's why I gave it 2 out of 10. Main character, I gave a 5 out of 10 because I feel like she was good 50% of the time. Like, she had some good reactions to him. She stood her ground like half of the route. But then at the latter half of the route where she blames herself for like the sexual assault, like I just felt like that was horrifying. So yeah, I gave that a 5 out of 10, making my total score for him a 15 out of 50.
Yikes!
Passing it to Jan.
Yeah, so I did not have any good sentiments really about Teo. I was really bored too in his route because it was just like whatever. My favorite scene, obviously, we said it was the bush thing. I thought that was so funny because he was like, Goddess, what's up? Like, where you been?
And for that to be your shining moment in your route is crazy to me.
So starting with personality, I gave it a 2 out of 10. I just said that I actually preferred when he was a bit sweet and ditzy. I know it's his tactic to get women to do things for him, so it is manipulative, but it's kind of funny because it's just airheaded just because he's like, oh, what's a singles party? Oh, what's this? Like, you're not dumb, but you know what it is. You just like to see the reactions of things and kind of play like kind of cute and innocent. Really
more of like the Gemini or Libra thing. Like, they're the signs, the air signs that play airhead, even though they're quite intelligent. Like,
He, I would say too, now that I think I said earlier, his voice would be like Morgana's. His would be randomly Cosmo from Gaku and Babysitters.
Oh my god, yeah.
And then all of a sudden he like spins out of control, forcing himself on her, and is like oh my god, I have daddy issues. It's like, okay, but like, what does that have to do with anything? Your personality sucks. For romance, I said it was a 1 out of 10, and I was being very like generous.
Yeah.
To me, like, there was not really romance. Like, the one scene of them being like, I put so much love into it. I hate that there's a twist saying like, it's just the ingredients in the stew. Okay, like, that's crazy. So for me, it just wasn't romance. It was so like all of a sudden her emotions changed, and that wasn't enough for me because it was like, okay, but why?
A lot of times it felt forced closeness, like him just taking off his shirt and then pushing her off the bridge so that he could catch her.
Like, my heart thumps. I'm like, Jesus Christ, stand up.
Yeah.
For the plot, I feel like Hugh told her rather than it was showing, and it was like the entire time Hugh was saying, I'm like, how about we go into the room?
Yeah, like when he was speaking, I was like, oh my god.
Take
like,
your shirt off.
Come on.
I think the pacing was just so bad that it like made it weird. Like, you go from this like really springy area to then all of a sudden it gets dark. And it's like, not that that can't happen, but you want to almost have a sneaking suspicion. Like, things are too good, so you don't know why things, and like something bad happened first and now things are great. And all of a sudden you're anticipating the bad to happen again. And then it's like, Teo feels too much, but I'm like, but why? Like, if you say like, I want all of your love, I would ask, but why? Like, what have I shown you so much? She doesn't actually show him all that much.
No.
So, so then for his development, I said a 1. He tried to rape her. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Not once, but twice. So I just feel like, I don't know. I think that like, it was just not there for me. Any development, he didn't change anything other than he loves her now. But they
don't say how.
Like, you didn't get your way and you so screwed up the earth. So I'm not really that cool with you. So for the main character, I give her a 4. I just feel like she did stand her ground and all of that, but like, and she definitely knew how to turn him down, but then she was just like, oh, well, but now I'm into him. And then her pick-me-ass shit, like, it's my fault that he was acting this way. Like, only I can stop him. Like, okay, no.
It was crazy. Like, I feel bad for her because she's like a victim, but at the same time, it's like, she's like reacting so badly.
Yeah, I wasn't really with the shit. So he got a fail for me too. Like, he's number 6 on.
Yeah, so your total was 11 out of 50, even more scathing than my 15. And so that adds up. So what we were doing is we're adding both of our scores so that I can get like a complete overall score. That way, like, if I really loved someone, but like she finds a lot of problems with them, it balances to something more neutral.
Yeah.
It just so happens though that we pretty much were kind of similar on all of them, but 26 out of 100, so that's a 26%, which anything lower than a 60 in the American grading scale is an F. Fail, so that is a fail. We are back. It's been like 3 hours because we had a meeting coming up and then we were getting hungry, so we were like, wait, let's eat, take this meeting, and then come back. So we are back now, but I'm gonna pass it over to Yana because the next guy is one that she was going to be doing the breakdown on, so.
Yeah, so it's the god of Cancer, Karno, and he's in the second prologue, so he is not one of the gods that had like the mark of sin on him. And he's also the vice minister for the wishes, so he works directly under Leon. I do like his dynamic in Leon's route where basically it's like, oh, Leon doesn't fear anybody, but he kind of fears Karno. So,
which doesn't make sense to me, like knowing everything about Karno that I know, like he's not scary.
At all. I was interesting to see because I thought like playing Leon's route when I first ever played it, well before I played Karno, I thought he was going to be some like kind of dynamic character who could like rein in Leon's like what kind of special character he is. I was severely let down. So
that's so funny because we had such different like thoughts about him. Like I thought of him as like a side character and that he was like there would be nothing to him, which proved to be like somewhat.
Pretty much. So after you just basically go into the house after they explain that like, hey, there's the Dark King and you're going to choose one of the 6 gods to I say this because of the drink list to God. Like anyway. That to protect you, you choose Karno. And I get why she chooses Karno because she doesn't know anybody else and he seems the nicest.
He's the most natural fit, in my opinion, for like who she would naturally pick.
Yeah, because I wouldn't choose it.
No.
So
he's scary.
Basically, she's kind of thrown into this so she has no idea like what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. And so she's like, okay, like you'll protect me, I'm going to go home. And Ziglavis is like, that's not happening, so no. But Karno at first is like, you know what, like I'm gonna help you and you can stay at home. Like I'll just protect you all the time. That proves to like not work out pretty quickly and she's has to move back into Karno's room. Karno's like, or back into the house like right after because Leon's like, no, literally that's a bad idea. She has to stay here. It's easier if we all can just protect her. So then she goes into Karno's room, which I didn't agree that matched him. Like,
yeah, it seems like a random background that they just had, and they had like run out of like custom backgrounds from their like funding budget. So they just pulled like a random hotel background. Like, we'll put it on the screen. It looks wild.
Yeah, and something that she says, and this is something that's like a consistent inconsistency, is that like basically the gods have no form of technology, and like they don't know what phones are because they're like, is that a toy? Like, what is this mysterious device? And then all of a sudden, Karno has a TV in his room. And so that's like a really minor detail because at least they address it. Because she asks like, what is this? And he's like, I took things from Earth because I watch Earth all the time. He constantly brings it up that he watches humans a lot.
Which the thing is that they all do in a sense, because I get like only the strong wishes come through to the pond, but it's like not a single one had anything to do with technology. Like,
I know.
ever.
That's just... So anyway, Karno like is trying to like relax her because she's obviously freaked out. And then, but she's trying not to show it. So she's like, you know, like, it's okay. Like, you guys are like, I'm putting you guys out, blah, 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 blah. And he says, you know, you've always been considerate like that. And that raised a red flag immediately for me. I was like, what?
That's so sus of him.
Like, why would you say that? Like, why would you choose those words?
Another thing I want to point out too that like I thought was a little weird was that MC like immediately with Karno was like, he's like such a godly god. Like, he's just giving me god energy. And I didn't feel that. Like,
there was nothing to lead to that. She says that like immediately, like my heart pounds when he like looks at me like that. And I was like,
yeah, it's like that in conjunction with like what you just said about him, it made me feel like they had some kind of like connection that wasn't being brought to the surface yet.
Yeah, and so then she calms down and she's like, I'm gonna go like, he's like, you can go to sleep. And she's like, freaks out about like the sleeping arrangements, which this is another thing that always points out. They constantly like, gods don't need to eat or sleep. I'm saying, other than I guess your guys is purposeful for, you know, doing the dirty, why do you all have beds?
Yeah,
like,
just to like lounge on and relax.
We all know that Ziglavis never brings a woman. I'm like...
He is like, you know in Sims how you can go on the bed and like read a book? Like that's the action he does.
Which is so crazy because here's the thing. They do this in Kiss By the Baddest Bidder too, where like Soryu says he hates women, but then they're like, he's like a sex god. And you're like, that makes no sense. Either you're a virgin or you're not. Like,
that's like how the alpha males are though in like this freaking day and age. Like they're like, women suck, but we're gonna dedicate our whole lives to sleeping with them. Like,
you're like, okay, that makes
maybe
no
just
sense.
like stick with men.
Yeah, I got the same technical vibes from Scorpio, not to like super derive, that's just how boring Karno is.
Yeah.
Scorpio makes it seem like he hates everybody, so it's like, are you a virgin or no? I'm confused.
Dude, Scorpio and the King, they got something. They got something going
on. Daddy, watch me twirl.
Oh, recipes.
So anyway, Karno's like, don't worry, like, you can take the bed. And she's like, oh my gosh, no, like, I won't take the bed, like, I'll just sleep on, like, the couch, it's totally okay, you can sleep on the bed. And then he makes another weird comment, is like, you've always been really selfless. And she's like, I don't even know why he's saying that, but the better sentence for him to say is like, I actually don't need to sleep, so it's fine. Because he doesn't say that at first, he's just like, you don't have to worry, like, I'm good. And then he says he'll stay by her so that she, like, calms down and goes to sleep. And, like, she does, and then she's like, okay, so, like,
Yana did handwritten notes. She is a classy, classic lady.
I just want to say part of my note says, she comes to the reality that they're, because at first she's not thinking about it as a man and a woman sharing a room. She's just like, I don't want to put him out. Then all of a sudden she's like, a man, I'm going to share a room with a man. And like, you're at least in your 20s, like you've never slept in the same room as a man.
I wish, not to like so derail again, but I just wish that they gave the MC lore. Like, has she dated anyone before? Like, is she looking for love? Like, they don't really talk about anything about the MC and her family, past friends, like really anything other than Hiyori, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's important to give the MC a real past, making them, other than in certain instances, like if she's fresh into college and maybe she hasn't, like a good example of the manga Happy Marriage, the girl was 22 and she had like been in love before with guys, it just never worked out and she never crossed that line. But it wasn't this like naivety, it was that she made like, she would get to the almost to the limit and then they cheat, like the guy cheated on her, lied to her, so she's like, oh, we're not gonna cross that limit.
Yeah.
But it was a realistic pass versus like sometimes Voltage is like, what if we make them innocent, dainty people who never date? Like, that's not real, she's 30.
Yeah, and I know they do it to like make it so it's easier to self-insert, but it's like you show her on the screen looking like eyeless sometimes, even though she has eyes in the prologue, like
So then it's like she calms down. He's like, I don't need to sleep, so it's all good to go. Well, then she pulls out, like on her keys, a key charm of like a star, and she's like, she can't remember where she got it, but she's like, I'm pretty sure my parents either got it for me or like one time when I was at the planetarium when I was younger, I just don't remember. Then Karno looks all concerned, like, where did you get that? And she's like, and this was what kills me because of what happens later, because it's like, you know where she got it.
At this point, have we learned his power yet?
Oh yeah, so he's like, he says, I don't have a useful power. And she's like, what do you mean? And he says, my power is to enhance things. Like he makes cookies and then he makes the cookies sweeter, which that's actually subjective. I just want to say that.
Yeah, it's like, how do you know like that I like sweet things? Like,
how do I know it's sweeter? Like if you think something's sweet, I don't necessarily know I think it's sweet, you know?
Yeah, another thing that kind of annoyed me was like, he just like enhanced her beauty. And I was like,
so
are you trying to say I'm ugly? Sometimes uglies are hotties.
Sometimes hotties are ugly on the inside. And sometimes uglies are super hotties on the inside. And sometimes hotties are super hottie on all sides. I don't know why I'm pointing here.
Because you're a hottie.
That's right. Thank you. I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to say it.
Hey, Dad!
Like he says it in a good way where he's like, you're even more beautiful than you were before.
It came across to me as like him like over explaining to be like,
Yeah.
I'm telling you were beautiful before.
Yeah,
it's like,
because to me,
you already fucked up.
Because to me, you automatically just called me ugly. Like, I just enhanced your beauty.
Yeah.
I would walk out.
Like, just tell me I'm courageous for walking around like this.
So, anyway, Karno says, like, tomorrow you can go pack your stuff at your apartment and then you'll move everything into this place. So she does, and as, like, she's done, Vega comes in, and I love Vega. This is, like, the one, like, Vega's actually low-key funny because she just says things, but without, like, thought process. And for whatever reason, the MC assumes their age. Because she says, a cute little 10-year-old, like, how do you, no, she's not 10, I just want to make that clear, she's absolutely not 10.
That gave me a bit flash because she never says it in any of the other rounds. She's like, a girl at the age of 10, like what?
She says it, and she says it in cues too, that they're both Altair and her are 10.
It's like nobody said that.
And they're not 10, they're hundreds of years old. Like,
Yeah.
centuries older than you, so stop. And so she was like, oh, is it Vega from like the stars or whatever? So Vega's like, I'll take you to Lord Karno. I actually really like that they call them lords.
Yeah, that is cute.
Like, she got me there, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like, Lady Kayla and Lord Karno. I was like, that's right.
So, which I will say again, sorry to sidebar, but like that was makes it that the Star-Crossed myth was more in like royalty ran versus gods, because where's the angels? Where are the like subgroups of everything that's in the heavens, like the
I
deities,
wish
all of that.
so hard that they had gone all in on it being like gods, heavens, mythology, angels, people dying and becoming angels.
Yeah,
like,
people
but
are dying,
they
yeah.
very much ignore all that.
Yeah. So Vega goes and she's like, what did you bring in this suitcase? You're so heavy, I can't do it.
Oh, I think she was like dying. She like falls out on the thing.
Again, if she's a 10-year-old girl, why would y'all send her by herself?
Also, why did you make her carry your suitcase? Are you not an able-bodied woman?
Also, for this mythical magical door that connects all the time, why did you fly her across?
Like, you couldn't get her a shortcut.
The most illogical thing that they do, that someone was like, I have to beef up the word count, and he goes, what? She uses the door every other time. So why she didn't use it this time to simply carry her stuff over is so bad and insane.
Our running theory is that they have like a very, very minimalistic doc of like who's who and what's what, and that a different person wrote every single route. Because none of them like align right to me.
And like the whole thing is, every time the MC can, she talks about how nice Karno is, how nice it is. So this scene is set up that when Vega's struggling, she's like, Lord Karno, can you help me? And he does it because he's so chivalrous. But
Yes,
again,
if anyone would have.
If he's really chivalrous, he would have had a door and let you just walk through it. It's not like Vega and can't do it because she's talked about it. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. They definitely try to drive home that he's like this sweet, like caring, like nurturing homemaker type guy.
Yeah, because Vega goes in on about how strong Karno is. And it's like, nobody asked.
I have to bring it up later, but like, there's something else that he does that I'm just like, Bro, you're fucking late as hell. Like, I've been down here for how long?
And then, so then this is when he's like, basically he can enhance things, and he says that he feels his powers aren't useful, which I agree.
Yeah, like, you're right, sweetie.
So,
but does he know he has that other power?
Does he know? Here's the thing, this is where I made the commentary about this. They have the ability to snap their fingers and do pretty much anything else. So their powers are obsolete in a sense. They're unique in a sense, like, you know what Hughes is, or like, again, I'll use the punishments because we'll talk about them later. Ziggs is a shadow, and like Scorpio's is to read your mind.
Those are cool powers.
Those are cool, but those are unique because it's not like you can snap your fingers and read someone's mind. So that makes sense. But
right, whereas any of the gods could snap their fingers and make a cake taste sweeter.
Yeah, like or like the pleasure thing that, you know, other gods might have.
Yeah.
Like, those are things that like already are a thing that you can snap. And so it's like if you have the ability to fight bad guys and do anything else, like your unique ability isn't that great, but fine.
Teo's being stopping time, it doesn't make sense for him, but that is a pretty cool ability.
That is a pretty, like, that's a, like, I'm not gonna, like, you know what I mean?
I'm not gonna hate on that, you know?
You know, you're not that bitch, but I'm gonna give you, though, you know?
He ate that one little thing.
And then for whatever reason, it turns into a compliment battle. Like, you're so great. No, like, you're great. And it is, like, the cringy, oh my gosh. The winter retreat, when they're, like, just boring everybody to tears. That's, like, what this is.
Except for not as well written.
Yeah. She does ask a very good question of like, how do each of the gods assimilate in human culture? And he says like he's very invested in doing it. Like when you think of it, like Ichthys and technically Teo are more invested in being like about humans than like Leon and Hugh and Scorpio.
Yeah.
Because they kind of care. So like in a special that I read, Teo reads Cosmo all the time. So he's like, I want to learn about a beach and I want to go and do this stuff. Whereas like you look at Leon, who's not interested at all, so he's like, why would I care about that stuff?
Yeah, the other gods, a lot of the times, like, it's MC who sparks their interest in it. Like, I, for example, or Aigo, I always want to call him I.
Yeah.
But Aigo, for example, like, he does also get really interested into it, but only because of MC, like.
Yeah, they do call him I, and I always automatically go, I can't.
I think of it as, like, because I means love in Japanese, so it's just such a cute little name.
Yeah. And so then Karno says that he has an especially soft spot for humans, and which is like a seed planted for later.
Yeah.
And then she was saying that like, she jokes saying that gods are so great and amazing, and for no reason, he's like, I would trade places with you in like a second. And I'm like, way to kill the vibe. Like,
he has a weird way of killing the vibe in like almost every scene. Like he's just very like flat toned and like, I don't know.
Yeah, it was just so uncomfortable because I'm like, well, that makes no sense. Like, why would you want to be one over the other? Like, it's fine. Especially because they talk about how they were once at one.
Yeah.
So like, why do you care? So then like, for no reason again, she freaks out about the sleeping in her notes once again. She's like, oh no, like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. And it's like, we already went over this. You knew what it was. Like, don't act dumb. But fine.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. And then I literally said, like, girly, let's stop. He does make a joke about sleeping next to her, but he's like, I promise I'll just stay next to you because I don't need to sleep. Which, to my own thing, is like, if he's on Earth, like, when do they, like, run out of energy? You're not running, like, you can't possibly be, like, all the time good.
Yeah, it's like, that happens in Hughes too, and it's like, he just kind of takes a cold bath and like just rests. Like, and like, he doesn't sleep, but he just like rests on the bed, and like, that's how he recovers.
Yeah.
I guess, but yeah, I feel like with Karno too, like knowing his like interest in like humanity and stuff, and like having him just sit there, I feel like he's just gonna be watching you the whole time, like.
Yeah.
And it just feels a little creep.
Yeah, so he takes her to work the next day, and that's when Hiyori catches them. And she's like, oh my god, like, what's good? Like, we need to talk about this. And when they're out at the cafe or something, Hiyori's like, is that your boyfriend? And she's like...
That's in every single route.
Like, sputters about the shit. She's like, boyfriend. The fact that she's so adamant to deny it is even dumber, because it's like, do you want them to find out who they are or what? Like,
I know, she always is so like, oh my god, they're not my boyfriend, they're not my boyfriend. It's like, it's so much easier though if they are, because they keep picking you up and dropping you off at work.
Yeah.
Like,
so before she can like get to anything, her and Hiyori get attacked by like the dark evil or something, and she's like, oh, Karno, save me. And it's like, woof, chapter ends. And it's like, okay, like we all know he's gonna show up. I would be kind of dead if he didn't, because it would be like your whole nice, I don't know, it would just be funny. So he like basically saves her, and then like the evil guy goes away for now. The whole thing that the king
I
says,
thought that was on that trip they do, like that double date.
they come back multiple times.
Oh, that's right.
So like the whole thing is the king says that if on site, if you see them, like you have to kill him, and then he doesn't.
They never do.
It's because sorry, I totally missed this part. While she's working, he says, I put a ward of protection over the planetarium.
Yes.
Don't leave. And she does it anyway after work to talk about it.
I remember that.
And this is how Hiyori finds out about him, really. So Karno's like scolding her, and I'm sorry, like she deserved it. Like I literally asked you not to do something, and you're doing it anyway. You kind of earned this ass whooping. And Hiyori's like, oh, like if the fact that Hiyori hears none of the shit that this guy's saying, she's like, oh, who is that cutie? Like, have you heard that sound where it's like, oh, you're coming on with me? That's like how I see.
No, I haven't.
Sometimes.
You should send that to me.
So then basically she's like, are you guys dating? And Karno is the one that speaks first and is like, yeah, we're dating.
Yeah, he's the first one that's like with it.
We're with
like,
it.
That's it.
And then the MC like freaks out, and he's like, and Hiyori does not look at her friend. She's like, doesn't skip a beat. She's like, are you from like Europe? He's like, I am. I'm English. And it's like, okay, that's so far into that. Like I would just say like, yeah, I'm European. And so then like because he's holding on to her because she was like trembling, like Hiyori's like, okay, see you later. She like then realizes like we're still touching each other, and like leaps out of his arm. And it's like again, you're an adult.
Yeah, like simmer down.
And then she kind of like, why would you say that? Like I need to clear it up with her tomorrow that like we're not together. And he's like, no, you need to tell her that we're together. It's actually more believable, because if I'm around often, it makes less sense. Or it'll make more sense, because then she's not going to be like, oh my god, like why is that freak around all the time?
Yeah, plus like if they go grant wishes and stuff, it's like he blends in.
And throughout this whole thing, she keeps reminding herself internally, like, I don't belong with somebody as wonderful as Karno. Karno is so great and amazing. I don't deserve to be with him.
And it's so confusing to me, because up to this point, he hasn't done anything like that the other gods haven't necessarily, but she never feels that way about anyone else.
Yeah, like, it's kind of weird that she keeps saying it like this, because it's like, what has he done that's so spectacular that you don't deserve to be with somebody like that? You wouldn't know, because that's making it seem like you're just a piece, like you're a POS, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're just not that great. And I'm simply never gonna put myself down like that. You know what I mean? Like, we're either equals or I'm better. So then, like, as time goes on, Karno's like, what if I, like, while I'm out down here in town, and like they're holding hands and stuff to like be more believable when they're dating around a group of strangers, he decides to start granting some wishes. And like, Karno repeats the same thing, like, only the strongest wishes, like yours, come up to us because, for whatever reason. But then, like, I never get to grant, like, small wishes. Which, then I go back to saying, like, Vega gives him, like, a list of all these wishes, so I simply don't think that's true. She's saying, like, gods do such spectacular work by granting wishes. I agree with her on this I agree with Karno on this when he's like, we're not that great. I would have to agree, because it's like, you just said it yourself, you don't grant everybody's wishes. It's just like, if you're around.
Yeah, and like when they grant them, it's not as though they don't show like a whole process to them granting it. It's just like,
yeah.
Like it's very quick.
And so like the day like continues on, they like bump shoulders and they blush, like Karno's even worse for that. Like, you're about 700 years old. Calm down.
Yeah.
And then like they're going on, she's like, today was like such a great day. Like, oh my gosh. And then they're walking through the alleyway to go back to the house. And this again doesn't make sense, because they always talk about the door, but then they walk all the way back to the house.
Yeah.
Which means it's very conveniently close to Tokyo. Like, there's no way.
It has to be close, because people just walk up to it all the time.
And so anyway, as they were happening, there's this ambulance that comes rushing by them, and then as they come out, there's a guy on the stretcher, and his son is like crying, like, save my dad, save my dad. And the MC like clings onto Karno, and she's like, Karno, you have to do something, like save him. But Karno basically looks like kind of downtrodden and is like that's it, I can't do anything. She's like, he's making a wish, like you have to grant it. And it's like, do you know the rules and regulations of the heavens? No. So like, he does it, and the guy dies. And Karno basically says, like, that was kind of it. Like, I don't do anything. Like, I can't interfere with life or death. And they make it seem a lot bigger, or that's like such a thing, but that's not how it works. So he doesn't do anything, and the guy obviously dies because he was already set to die.
And what's weird too, though, to me is like, how far does that extend? Because it's like, you could have, like, to at least just like appease MC, just made it so that the ambulance got to the hospital instantly. Or just something, like, but like, even though he still was destined to die. Because like, for example, in Lose Route, he does give somebody like CPR at one point. So it's like, is that not interfering? Like, it's confusing.
Right, and like when the dark people are coming after me to kill me, does that mean I'm set to die?
Yeah, and you are intervening.
You're interfering
in that
with my life plans. Like,
but I guess that's fine because it's drug orders from the gang. Like, I don't know.
Pick and choose your struggles. So he I think this is the issue, is that they didn't have enough expressions for the sprites. That Karno looks sad to me, but to her, she's like, he looks so cold and distant. And I was like, he seems like he's depressed. So then they leave because he's like, we need to go. Like, that's it, kind of thing. And then that ends the chapter, and so they move into it, and she's saying that she's like still very bothered by like his expressionless like face, and like how could he not care about somebody dying?
Yeah.
And like, I get it, when you are in the moment of seeing somebody die, it is like really heavy on you because you're like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. But like, you don't think about when people die anywhere else. Like, you're not that concerned.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, you just don't think about it. Like, people do, pass away every single day, and it doesn't affect me emotionally because I don't know those people.
Yeah.
So like, that's how I took it. Like, Karno don't know those people. Like, it's not that he doesn't, but like, he sees people die a lot, so.
And also just the likelihood that you would be that close to somebody who is like about to die, like just, you happen to be walking down the street and then all of a sudden it's like right in your face where you can hear the kid and everything. It's like so unlikely to me. Like, I feel like you do see ambulance situations all the time, but you can't really tell what's going on and you just walk past.
Yeah. And then she gets like really upset about like, how could you not care? Like, you don't even know them. Because she never brings up the dad in the ambulance and the little boy, like, pretty much ever again.
Yeah, like, she forgets about it after this little plot beat.
You don't care. So, anyway, that goes on, and then she's like, they don't talk about it for days. And then she's back to work, and Hiyori's like, oh my god, like, your boyfriend seems so amazing. Like, you have such a great relationship. Seen them once.
Yeah.
Like, so there's, like, a trip coming up that Hiyori wants to go on with her boyfriend. And Hiyori's like, I'm really nervous to go out with my boyfriend alone on a trip overnight because I'm 16. I don't know. She's like, it's cute. So then she's like, what if you and Karno join us? And the MC's like, absolutely not. I don't think that it's going to happen. And then Hiyori's like, no, you have to go with me. Like, it'll be so great. Karno immediately agrees. Like, yeah, we should go. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, the thing about Karno that's
many a danger.
I know, the thing about Karno is like, he's like down for her, like to do anything. And it's like, it's a weird point where it felt like a little like manipulative to me. Like, he was just like always like in control of like what happens with them romantically.
Yeah, like he's always saying yes. And again, she's always blushing and stuff. And so Karno is set up to look like very nice and never does anything wrong. But it's like, it's boring in a sense, but it's also like, I like the conflict and they rarely have any.
Yeah.
Which makes it harder when later they do, because neither would know how to help resolve it because they never fought before.
Yeah, and they don't really. It's just like this weird, like they're awkward when they fight.
Yeah, I would be, you know what I mean? You would think too, because again, she has a target on her back that she needs to ask permission, and Karno's like, nah, we're good. And the only reason I can excuse it is because of how highly ranked he is. That who's he, like, other than Leon, who's he gonna ask?
Yeah, which makes no sense to us that he's that highly ranked, because he doesn't have any specific special powers. Like, he's not particularly that good at his job. Like, he actually is, as we'll find out later, is not really even following some of the rules.
Yeah,
but,
like,
yeah.
Oh, the other thing that all the gods keep saying is that, like, she can't be out alone, but if they're in heavily populated areas, like, it's fine. Like, the bad guys won't come and attack them.
Yeah,
I'm
even
like,
though in other routes they attack in public areas.
Where's the proof?
Yeah, you don't know.
that.
He's the evil king. Like, he's not gonna play by your rules.
He wants his powers back. I don't think he really cares. Like, he's not all into human life. So, anyway, like, he's like, I'll protect you, like, no matter what. And, like, Lou's like, you don't have to do this just because it's your job. Like, you don't have to give in to her every win just because it's your job.
Yeah.
This is the only time I've seen him be mean. Like, dude, this is just a job. Like, you're
taking it too far. Like, that, because I was starting to feel like that too. It's like, he's like way more into it than any of the other gods are. It's usually like they come around from being around MC, but he's like off the rip into it.
Yeah, because then he gives us like impassioned speech about how like he's dedicated to protecting her, and like if he can't protect her while she's out and living her life, then he has like no right to call himself a god, basically.
It's crazy.
And Leon's like, all right.
It is giving cancer though, you know?
He's like, yeah, sure. And then he brings up the keychain thing again, and like, okay. And he's like, that seems weird that you have that. And she's like, do you think so? And like, that's what we're talking about. No additional questions, like nothing like that.
She does like start to think again though, like, it is kind of weird that I can't remember how I got it. Like, it's always been important to me, but I just don't really remember how I got it.
Yeah, she says that. She's like, maybe it's because I was too little. So then the chapter basically ends, and then they're like on their way to Kyoto. So they take, I think, a bullet train, which like
they do, yeah. And the freaking Hiyori boyfriend sprite is the same sprite that of this guy that Hiyori dates in another route, and he's a complete jerk and like says he's only with her to get in her pants.
Yeah.
And I'm like, could you maybe just don't put a sprite on the screen for him?
And then when they get there, they just keep getting compliment after compliment on how great a couple and how beautiful and perfect they are together. And it's
Which
like,
I personally think that he looks so doofy. Like, I don't know why, I just don't like Karno's like look. And it just, them saying that, I'm like, the other guys, like, yeah, for sure, they look super handsome. But like Karno, I'm like, nah.
And then like she says that she's thinking that she's getting too like attached to it, because she's like, I would love to be like really with Karno. And she's like, oh my god, do I have a crush? Do you have a crush?
Do you?
That's insane. And then like they basically split away from Hiyori and the boyfriend, and they're just going on like basically tourism things. And I'll say this, Karno has a lot of like romantic date things that they do, like even with the wishes thing. And they're like going to the Meiji, the Torii gates. Go to the Torii gates. They
get more scenes, like more backgrounds and like action happening than any others.
Yeah, so he like talks about like things like that, and then he basically said that she wishes that like Karno felt more for her. Mm-hmm. And like, again, I wouldn't be making wishes because the other ones are there waiting for me to make a wish. Like, can you imagine like you're making like casual offhanded wishes and the gods are like, hey, stupid, don't.
Yeah, they're supposed to be able to hear that, and that's crazy because she does do that like all the time in her head. She's like, I just wish blah blah blah, and like they don't comment on it until the times when they do comment on it. It's like inconsistent.
I ignore her, like she just. Because, like, imagine it's you and I. We wish for really stupid stuff all the time.
Every day. Every second.
So I can't imagine somebody that, like, can hear us, like, so often being like, you need to stop. You're getting a lot right now.
I can't remember which route it is in. It might be Leon's, where he's like, your wishes come through really loud for me, so, like, stop. Like, I heard you. Because she's, like, screaming it in her head. I want this. And Leon's like, Jesus Christ, I'm here. Like,
yeah, dude, I don't scream in my own mind.
Yeah, I don't either.
I'm trying to do it right now.
Me too. I'm stressed. Like, is it working?
It only comes out in sounds.
No, it's always the same, like, tone.
So then...
Sorry, guys. Can you guys do that?
So, like, she's like, I wish Karno felt more for me when they go to, like, to pray at the shrine. And I'm like, it's, like, been maybe 4 days. Like, that's not...
Also, it's like, who's to say he doesn't feel more for you? Because he's doing a lot.
You never asked.
Yeah, you don't know.
So then he's like, what if we pull our own fortunes? Da-da-da. And, like, she gets bad luck, which I'll flip out.
Yeah, he got, like, excellent, and hers was, like, bad.
And their fortune was, like, about how, like, a relationship isn't going to come in the way that you think it is. And, like, that's the fortune. Like, you don't think that the fortune should have been, hey, you might get killed? Like...
Yeah, it was something like, chaos, bad luck, and then, a relationship will be unexpected. Didn't even say bad.
Yeah, so then she's like, I'm kind of hungry. And he's like, I guess I can eat too because I can eat whatever I want to. So they go to this place and like she gets something kind of sweet. And this is where it comes out his like little niche thing that makes him like so different. Is that he's like really into spicy stuff. So he like pulls out this like really hot sauce. And he's like, yeah, like I'm weird. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, he's like, do you want to try some? Like, I like Carolina ghost peppers. Like,
that whole convo is so insane. Like, I get really spicy on Monday nights. Like, Karno.
I would be like,
you're so insufferable. I'm different. Yeah.
I would make a wish. I'd be like, hey, guys, if you can hear me, kill me. That's something else that she does. Like, she knows that gods clearly exist, and the way that they write it, like, whoever localized it, like, she says Jesus a lot, and I'm like, you know that he doesn't exist because look at them. It's so stupid that you said that. I know it shouldn't matter, but, like, it would have been a nice transition for her to believe. Like, she obviously believed in multiple of gods.
Yeah.
So the fact that she says God or Jesus is funny, because it's like, I would say gods as, like, a funny thing to remember.
Yeah. When does she say Jesus again?
There's once in Leon's route, a couple times in Aigo.
Like, in what reference? Like Jesus Christ? Like that? Or like
Jesus, that was awful. Or like, Jesus.
Oh, okay. Yes, she does do that. I was thinking like you meant like she literally referenced like
no.
the Messiah. Like, I don't know.
No.
I was like, when I
we
missed
would
that?
talk about that for like 2 hours. So then anyway, she's like, okay, like his little spicy kink, like good for him. They go to the hotel and realize again that they're sharing a room. If like you're faking being a couple, why would you get separate rooms? Like imagine I'm lying to you about dating somebody and all of a sudden, first of all, I can't even hold back from you when I'm getting you a gift. It took everything in me to hide that I got that present for you. Every day I was like, do you want to know what it is? Anyway, if I was out of fake relationship with a guy and I was like, we got 2 separate rooms, you would be so concerned. Like, what do you mean?
Like setting up for the fact that, oh, we're gonna pretend to be in a relationship now, that's like when like all the shock and awe should happen. It's like having like for the 3rd time that they're sharing a room together, it's like at this point, this is the gig. Like what are you talking about?
Get with the gigs, girl.
Give me the time. Go through your gigs.
So then she's like, okay, like to get out of this awkward situation, I'm gonna go like take a bath outside, like in that open air bath or something.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, sure. Why put a protection word over all of this when you could just do what you want?
I know, he's like, it should be fine. And like when she first said that, I thought she was like, oh, she was just going to the bathroom. Like, yeah, that would be fine. But then when she got stepped into the outdoors, I was like...
And then the minions show up. And here's the thing, you know that they're stalking her so bad.
They're just waiting for them to
like,
separate.
I was so waiting for that god to get off your ass, bros. Woo, I knew he was gonna slip up soon. And they attack her. And like, okay, she can't, they show her that they have Hiyori, like you either come with us or homegirl dies. And I would say 2 things, like guarantee me she's not gonna die.
Yeah.
And then she's like, she can't speak, so she like in her mind is like yelling for Karno again.
Is that not again messing with life and death?
If Hiyori was gonna get killed or not?
Yeah. So him saving Hiyori, like when she's wishing for Hiyori not to die, it's fine. I can't.
That being its thing all the time is kind of dumb. Like to be fair, like the idea of messing with death, like you don't know. Like in Teo's when she almost gets hit by a car.
Yeah, he saves her.
Which. Like, that would have been messing with her death. She would have died.
Yeah, like, we need to put a little bit of stronger barriers in fundamentals of what this is.
Yeah, like, I can stop you from, like, near death, but, like, if you're set to die, like,
it won't work.
In 10 days, then they defied it. So it was like, that's its own thing. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
And they had to hide her, remember? Because they were going to get in trouble when she got caught. Like,
yeah.
That is totally different. In this, you're like, well, there's a tree branch, so can't save that guy, but your friend who shouldn't have been wrapped up in this is like could save her life. Like that's stupid.
It's also like I want to know what like the actual consequence is, because like if it's the fact that they can't interfere in life and death, and the fact that it just simply wouldn't change no matter what they did, that would make more sense. But the fact that they needed to change for plot convenience, so that's not it. So it's like what happens to them?
Yeah, so then, like, the chapter ends, and then she's, like, screaming out to Karno. He comes in, like, busts through their barrier, and then she's like, oh, my gosh, thank God you're here, you know? And then she stupidly says, so, again, the whole thing is, if you go, you will then break the seal of the Dark King. You cannot go with the Dark King. She wants to save Hiyori, and while in theory it is a noble thing to be like, take me instead of my friend, No. What? Like, that's what they want. That's literally what they want. They're not going to spare Hiyori ever. I don't know. I've watched way too much crime shows. I hate when people say they're like, well, if you just take me instead. You're dumb if you think that they're not going to kill her, but okay.
Yeah, it's just going to be now 2
you know
casualties.
Like, if you were the MC and I was Hiyori, I'd go ahead and just pray to God you just don't make a stupid choice out loud and say, put me in front of instead of Yon's place.
Like,
what?
all right, we'll take 2.
You're trying to bargain with people who don't care about your life. That's so insane. And so Arnold even says that. He's like, that's literally not how it works. Like, no.
From what you said a minute ago, though, I was just thinking, like, is it just her going with the Dark King to the underworld that breaks the seal? Because she does that all the time. Like, well, it's whatever. I was like, so what is it they need to do to her to get that?
So here's the thing. It actually never happened, so who knows? I think in Aigo's it gets close to what their attempt was going to be.
And they never say what it is, though.
But I don't want to like spill it yet. So when I get to Aigo's, like what they say, but they never get close enough. Because here's the other problem: is in other routes the seal gets really, really weak. Like in Lou's, his seal gets really weak. So what do you need her ass there for anyway?
Yeah.
She is rendered useless, in my opinion, in Lou's route. Now that I'm thinking about it out loud again.
Yeah, like once, because you'll see when we get there.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil the whole plot, but yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so she's like, Karno gets like kind of pissy with her because he's like, that's not how it works, stupid. Like, if you go, the entire Earth is screwed. Like, you're not doing some noble thing. And like, this is a good counterpoint to have specifically with the MC. A lot of the time in these routes with Voltage, like for Starcross, is that like she's some self-sacrificing, like great. They keep explaining to you that if you go and do this and he gets unsealed, the entire catastrophe is not just for like the heavens, it's for the earth as well, and everyone will go. Like you sacrificing to save your friend only inevitably puts her in harm's way when the Dark King comes back and kills everybody.
Yeah.
So like she's so ignorant for that, and it gives like, I'm gonna self-sacrifice it. Do me so many favors and fuck off.
Like all the other gods are like watching Karno struggling with her and they're like, is that your friend? Is that your friend?
What's worse is they've explained this on numerous occasions. Not just Karno. Lou's explained it, Ziglavis has explained it, Leon's explained it, and Hugh has explained it to her on several occasions. And she's still like, what?
What if we could change the laws of the universe?
With one less leg needs my help. Is that okay? She's so funny for that. And then this happened where basically Karno's like, I'm gonna expel them, which means I have to kill Hiyori. And MC like loses it. She's like, do whatever you have to, but don't kill Hiyori. That's okay.
He does it though, right? He pulls it off.
He doesn't expel them. Remember, they get away.
Oh, that's right.
So he's like, okay, like I'll not kill her, and then he lets them escape. His like one rule was that like if they appear, to kill them. And even the other gods get really pissed off and they're like, I'm sorry, like one human life ain't shit, like that's fine. And I don't say I agree, but I kind of get what they're trying to say. Like,
I would get it, but the fact is that nobody else does it either. Like they come up all the time and like they always get away.
They always do, but like I could see like at least there's not usually an additional party. Like they let the bad guys get away in saving her. Like if I kill the bad guys and her, then that like the whole story ends. Like that's kind of how it is.
Right.
If she's in the way. So like a good phrase I always think of like for the justice system, like it's better that 10 guilty men leave than like one innocent person get like whatever. So it's like an opposite. Like if it's one person has to die so that the rest of the world is fine, then we have to take those.
My thing is though, like, would they really have even died though? Like, cause every single time, like for example with Luz, like he went as hard as possible, like in early chapter, like to try and get them, and then they just got away, and like that was just it. Like nobody was mad at him. Like it wasn't a big deal.
Because it was the Dark King that protected them after the fact.
Yeah.
He was in the way. I think that they don't know what they're doing.
It was just the Dark King, Crow, and Serve, and he was fighting all three of them, and he got close, but then the Dark King was just like, oh, well, we're gonna just recoup this later, and they left.
I was gonna say, they unleash a lot of power, but nothing is getting destroyed.
Yeah, nothing.
I've seen enough Avengers movies to know that that's not real.
Yeah, like, come on.
They destroy New York City constantly.
There should be stuff on the news, but anyways.
Anyway, then like the guys get away and like her and Karno like embrace each other. Like, oh my god, that was such a scary event. Like, I can't believe that happened. It makes me think of like this, oh my god, I almost died.
Yeah. Literally.
So then he was like, why are you just like so self-sacrificing? I would be more mad at her, honestly. Like that would be a great point of conflict. Like you think that you're being self-sacrificing, but that was super selfish. You were willing to sacrifice yourself to save your friend who would have inevitably
so that
died.
you could be happy with yourself.
Like so you can feel better about yourself.
So in the end, it is selfishness.
Yeah.
And you would think this is like this long scene by the way we're describing it, but this all happens like really fast. Like it's a short scene.
It's done. And then she was like, I feel like it's annoying, but like he doesn't say that. He's like, it's just like really reckless. But it's like I would have gone off and been mad at you. Like you just did this, and you think that you're kind of a douche for that. I think so.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Douche canoe.
She feels like she does feel bad because she's like, I did just disobey his rules. Like, dang, what should I do? And it's like nothing, but like don't do that. They both basically like. Oh, right, because she's in the bath. She was butt naked this whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I totally forget that that's the whole thing. I will say give credit to, like, the two bad guys. None of them comment on it. They're not even concerned. They're like, good for you, girl. I'm here to steal you. Your body will be useless to me anyway, so who cares?
I know.
I wouldn't think.
I wish they would have almost had them comment on it, because they're supposed to be the bad guys, right? Like
I think it would have been funny, but, like, it is funny on the opposite end, because their only goal was, like, I'm here to get her so that I can do this one thing. Her being naked has no bearings on me because I'm only here for, you know what I mean? Like, I'm only here so I don't get fined.
Yeah, and like they're truly just there to like serve their little plot purpose. Like the villains really get no character building.
Yeah, so then she's concerned, like, what happened when he wakes up? Like, she didn't remember this. How am I going to possibly explain this to her, like, that this happened? So Karno then says, like, I'll just erase her memory. And that's it.
Yeah.
And so, like, at first the MC is like, good looks. Like, you're right, because what else can you do? But then she's, like, as they're, like, laying down, she gets curious, like, she's thinking about it, and she's like, you know, that's crazy. Like, if your memory's erased, you actually have no idea that it was erased because you have no memory of it. So, like, I wonder if I've ever had my memories erased. And he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, how would that be
crazy.
so crazy? And then he's like, would, like, that bother you? Like, and she's like, no, but it would make you think, like, if your memories are altered or something, like, what memories are real? Because he not only erases them, he adds memories that don't exist.
Yeah.
And then he really starts sweating. He's like, I have a story to tell you. She's like, okay. So he tells a story about a little girl that he knew. Like, he would go and walk, like, see her around in the reflecting pool when he was on Earth. And, like, basically he says, like, oh, like, she never wishes for herself. She's so selfless. And, like,
and she would always thank him after and be like, thank you, Mr. Star.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Star. And, like, basically only make wishes for others. And then, like, she met a really nice woman who helped her love, like, the stars or something. And they met, and then the woman died, and the little girl got sick because nobody told her the truth that the woman died. So she got sick and felt like it was her fault because her wish didn't go through to the gods. Like, she would pray that the just healed her friend, and they didn't.
And he says that he is granting this girl's wishes, right? He tells her, and he tells her that the first time she ever wished for herself was to learn more about the stars, and so he actually manipulated it so that she would even meet this person.
Yeah, so then he feels bad that the little girl's sick because it was his fault that they met, and so then he erases her memory and changes them so that she doesn't remember any of that, and she gets better. And
now she's doing great and like making her own way in the world.
Yeah, and he's like, that she was like so pure and innocent, and I was like, yeah, we get it. And then he's like, I watched over her as like, oh, he says the line. So he's like, I really cherished her. Like, I watched over her as though she was my own child.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's so crazy. So then, like, they then lay there together, and she's like, wow. And they hold hands, and then, like, the chapter ends. It's weird because, like, so they say this whole thing, and she doesn't think about it at all because he would have had to so warp her memory that she doesn't remember anything else. Like, she doesn't remember meeting the woman and none of it. So, like,
making all those wishes, because he gives specific wishes too.
Yeah.
Like,
I would say as a child, though, if you asked me anything from the age of even 5, I'd been like, what?
I don't remember.
Yeah, so I could see how she wouldn't remember verbatim.
Like wishing for a sunny day and
yeah,
stuff like that.
In Dream Days in West Tokyo, when they're like, I remember shit when I was 6, I'm like, okay, that's a lie.
That's not real. Because in case you don't know, it obviously is her. Like, but she doesn't know that.
Yeah,
like,
it's her.
Yeah.
So then, like, they move on to the next chapter, and basically she's like, yeah, me and Karno have gotten closer. And I'm like, have you? It's because you hang out all the time. And like, she's basically like, she comes to the place again because she's like, I brought some stuff. And like, Leon's like, everything good? Like, what's goody with y'all? Like, I'm concerned because you two are like very making ghouly eyes at each other.
Yeah, you're getting too close and you know about the rules.
Yeah, and like, because I think Karno had to do one thing and Karno's like, don't try to touch her, like, at all. And Leon's like, that's not right. I don't like that. Like, that's not good. Oh, also, as Karno talks about the memories of the little girl, Leon happens to be there. So this is a good point I wanted to break into. Karno knows who she's been since she's a little girl. So the fact that Karno knows her and has now seen her through adulthood, it's weird that he never points out that she's the reincarnated goddess or uses this later for his friend's help to get rid of those marks of sin, because he clearly knew her. And Leon was around when she was little. So they go and make this a point to say that they could tell she was the reincarnated goddess pretty much instantly.
Yeah, they say the star pattern in her eyes is unique. And even whenever she goes to the heavens, like, people that walk by her immediately know who she was. So it's weird that they were literally down on Earth. They show them down on Earth in the hospital room looking at her in the eyes, and no one's like, oh, it's the reincarnated goddess of fate. Nothing. It's such an inconsistency.
Yeah, and when they get cast out of the heavens, it's like they know where she's at, and like, you would think Karno would be like, it's her? Oh, let me tell you something.
And also, you would think that Karno would have gotten cast out of the heavens for the way he's acting here, because he's like doing way too much. You're not even supposed to like grant insignificant wishes in the first place, and the wishes that it started off with were insignificant. So how he even saw those in the first place, I guess he went down to Earth. Yeah. I don't know. But anyways.
And so then she's like, but guess what, guys? I have spicy chocolate, and like, it's a funny scene because everybody's like, oh my god, this is so devilish and awful. And Karno's like leaves, and then this is like, I get to spend like extra time with the goddess, and like Karno gets jealous and is like, if you lay a single finger on her, it's a wrap. And it was like very awkwardly placed because you're like, what? So anyway, she like dangles her keychain again, and Leon recognizes the keychain. So this is an inconsistency to his own story and even the past of whatever it was. Because that means that that Leon remembers, but I would say that he doesn't remember that it's her specifically.
Yeah, and also she never mentions having a keychain in any other route.
She just is like, hey guys. And so Leon's like shook, and he's like, where did you get that keychain? I would also say I'm so surprised that they just have all of these freaking memories of all these people, because I wouldn't.
I know, because it's been like hundreds of years.
I don't remember half the people we went to high school with.
They must have like god tier brains.
Yeah, I don't. You know? Look how long it took us to get through this story.
I know. How long are we on Karno now? Almost an hour.
So then he's like, Leon basically gives her a cryptic message and is like, if you don't know how, like, that's good. And she's like, okay, weirdo. And so then Karno's like, why don't you join like me on a job? And it's like, basically, Karno says he has to be with her all the time now. So he's like, I'm gonna work for the planetarium so that I'm always guarding you 24/7 so they don't try it. She's like, okay. And
Which I found that to be a little interesting twist.
And I'm assuming he manipulated and used his powers to get the job there, so whatever. They Jimmy Hammer this random scene in that is so annoying. So the customer comes in and is like, I'm gonna return this pen. It's like adamant about returning this janky ass pen. And the MC handles it and he's like, you're so level-headed. I was like, what? And so he's like, I've had like, he said that he's gone to the planetarium since customer's gone to the planetarium since forever. And the MC basically says the same. And she's like, yeah, like there's like a gap in my memory, so I don't know what made me come here. And so then he always like, okay, like, can you go get more pens in the back? And then she's like, while I'm at it, why don't I clean the warehouse? Like, I simply would have said that, but
yeah,
like, good for you. And like, he already keeps making like little cracks about them being a couple at work. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, she gets so nervous about it, like, oh my god, like, we do look like a couple. That's because you tell everybody that you're a couple. So
yeah, yes. You've literally been on a couple's trip, like, stop.
So as they're cleaning out the storage, some photos appear, and that woman that was in the memories that have been altered pop up in that photo. And she's getting like a huge sense of deja vu because she's like, I feel like I know this person, but I don't know how.
Yeah, she's like, I've been coming to this planetarium since I was the age that this picture was taken, And I see lots of familiar faces here, and I recognize coming to this planetarium around this time, but I don't remember this lady who's clearly running the planetarium at all.
And the director comes in and is like, hey, like, helping, and then he's like, oh my god, that photo brings back memories. And the director's about to snitch and say, like, I remember you. And Karno, you would think he would have said that during the interview, but sure. Karno's like, what if I toss this box and like distract them so that we can get back to cleaning?
He keeps dropping stuff and like just interrupting anytime that MC tries to like learn more about her time there as a kid.
Yeah, so then the keychain that she has that's so near and dear, like the box of them falls out, and she's like, oh my god,
I got them from here.
Yeah, like, but I don't remember how, like what's going on. And then the chapter ends. And then like Karno's acting weird, like sus as hell, like
so weird. Won't look her in the eye.
Avoiding her, like doesn't say anything. He's like, dude, what's up? And like the director's like giving all that information. Karno's like, what if we just get back to cleaning? Like, what's good? And then she like notes that like he's still acting off even after the director leaves, and she's like, I don't understand what's like good going on with you, but like knock it off.
Yeah.
And then as she's bringing it up more, he basically is now like, I can't see you anymore. Like, I don't want to see your face.
Yeah, and she's like, why?
Give me a reason.
Like, just a chapter ago, you said we need to be together at all times, and you even got a job here because of that.
And then he, like, looks at her, and he's like, what if I did something bad? And she's like, like? And then he's like, that he killed like, he says that.
He said, like, kill someone you love.
That you loved. And then he's like, and I erased the memories, like, and dips. Like, what if I did that? What if I killed someone you loved and erased your memory?
About it.
And then he dips, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, doesn't talk to her. So the next day, she thinks that he's gonna come to get her, and he doesn't, and it's Lou. And Lou's like, hey, little lady. Basically, we are all gonna take turns watching you now. Because Karno requested to step down as your guard, and she's like shook about this. Like chapter 8 was like nothing, like very little plot of things, it's just that. So they move into the next chapter, and like nobody knows what's going on. She asks everybody, and they're like, dude, I don't know, because he won't talk to us. He won't come out of his room. He won't see us. Like, we don't know.
Did she talk to Leon?
Not yet. So then she's like, they ask her if anything happened. And she's like, no, dude, we were good. Like
he started acting weird. That's what happened.
I don't know what happened. So then she starts blaming herself. Like, what did I do? I guess like I just pushed too much. And it's like,
on what subject? Like,
so then, but the gods themselves were like, nah, dude, he is just weird. So like, you couldn't have done anything so bad that he would step down. Like, because otherwise we would just toss you to the winds. Like,
which also, by the way, we talked about this when we were eating lunch, but like them rotating on watching her makes way more sense
than one at a time.
Yeah, and also like, why not just send the entire Department of Wishes to just go slay the Dark King, like, and then just get that done and over with?
Because then how would they have a bad story? You know?
Yeah, you're right.
And so then Leon comes in, and he's like, the king said that Karno is to step down now, and it's like, so did he request it or did the king call for it? Like, make that
which
make
is
sense.
it?
And like the truth basically comes out about what Karno did was that he knew her since she was a kid and has watched over her, and that she basically made a friend because he manipulated it that way. The friend got sick and died. And it's like a whole older woman, and the girl was wishing for the woman to be saved, but obviously they couldn't grant that wish. And so then the parents lied to her and was like, hey, like, by the way, she didn't die. She went to the farm, just like Spot did. And the little girl knew that they were all just lying to her, and she felt guilty that her wish wasn't answered. And so she's crying, and she gets like sick from being so sad. And so Karno basically is like, I gotta help her not be sick, and erases her memories and gives her like false memories basically around that, so she forgets and she gets better.
Yeah, so she just thinks like she just was interested in the planetarium and that's it. Not that because she met that special person there that passed.
Yeah, and she keeps like, and Karno's basically reasoning for doing it is that she never wishes for herself, which, okay. And then he believes that Karno says that he believes it's his fault for that woman dying because he indirectly put the MC in her life. And like, that doesn't even make any sense at all. Like, in any way. That's like if you got some like terminal illness and it's like, because I was in your life, that's why you got it. Like, There's no linking to why that would happen. She just got sick and died.
It's weird because it doesn't seem like they are that close. Like she's just somebody who works at the planetarium that just like basically taught lessons on the stars to like her and a whole other group of kids. It's like, it'd be like if when you were in kindergarten, one of the kindergarten teachers like passed away. Like it would be really sad, but I don't know if I would put that all on me.
I wouldn't.
Like at all.
Once you say it that, I would be feeling guilty, like, damn, is it my fault? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's weird. And so, I don't know why I put this note. I said, literally, they suck at being gods. I don't know what made me feel that way, but it did.
I feel that way a lot playing the game. It's like they just, I don't know, it's just not quite right.
So Karno says that basically the reason why he took the job, he was chosen too. So, like, they really warped how this was said, but, like, the reason why he took the job to look over her was to, like, dissuade his own guilt over what he did to her years ago. Mm-hmm. To which I would say, like, you had no clue, like, you didn't have a for sure clue that she would pick you. Because if she chose Aigo, you're just, the guilt goes away. Like, that's a really stupid, that's a very plot specific, like, it works because it makes the plot sound more romantic.
I also feel like it gives him a little bit too much credit because the way it came across to me is like he was being very self-indulgent with her. Like he watched over her since she was a kid and he just like fell in love with her, which is kind of creepy. And so he was using the things that he knows about her and like his connection with her to like kind of like falsify a closer relationship than any of the other gods would get.
Yeah, so like then Karno basically is like, I led you to be unhappy and like, which he didn't. Her life has been fine this entire time.
Yeah, he said it himself. The girl is doing great now.
And she was a child. Like, as a child, if you thought that she was going to stay sad the whole time, like, her getting not sick, great, but, like, that's, like, a lot. So, anyway, like, you could have just told her the truth at this point. Because once she finds out, it's not like she has a visceral reaction to it and is, like, super mad or upset. She's just like, that's kind of crazy that you did that, but okay. And she's over it now. Like,
yeah, she's over it.
She's an adult who can process emotions and moved on. Like, that happened, it's done, and like people die every day. This would have been a time for her to comparatively say, like, oh, I can see why he even felt more guilty because of how mad I was about the dad dying and he didn't help. That would
yeah, so then now she's like, dang, that was like probably the worst reaction for me to have in front of him considering the past between us that I didn't know about.
Yeah, because she basically just doesn't dwell on it. And it's like, all of a sudden she realizes through all this because he's avoiding her and basically says he doesn't want to be around her that she's in love with him. And I don't get why, so fine, like that's your own emotions. And like because she's so sad and like despondent about it and like not reactive to the gods because she's just on the couch every fucking day. I gotta stop saying that for her.
Sorry guys.
She's like so despondent about it.
I've been saying it a bunch too.
The gods are like, dang, like that sucks because they keep saying that like the bad guys won't attack the mansion as long as she stays inside. Like she's good, she's safe. And she's like, yeah, like I'm just really sad. So they decide to leave her alone. Like, what if we give you some time to be depressed alone?
Like I need to get away from this energy.
In direct harm's way on a very constant basis. So she's like, okay.
Also, I want to say the jump of her being in love with him, it doesn't happen that smooth enough for me because, like, there are reasons that it could be that her feelings are to this point already, and she just needed to verbalize them in her head a little bit more for it to make sense to me.
Yeah, she doesn't. So she decides, like, I'm going to go outside and think about Karno. And she does, and for some reason, they didn't put a barrier around the entire perimeter, and so she gets immediately captured.
Wait, I thought first Karno is outside. And then that's when she's like, I love you. And he's like, no.
No, that was first. And then she's just depressed about it after. And she's just in the house. Because he's like, I'm not going to watch
Oh, sorry. I didn't hear you say that part where he rejected her.
Yeah, he rejects her. And she's like, okay, I'll just be sad. And he rejects her before she admits in her mind that she's in love with him.
Yeah, because she doesn't admit it in her mind. She just like spits it out first. And then he's just like, well, rules are rules.
Like, what rules? You've clearly not been following them at all.
I know, you never have. Your entire life as a god. That's what makes me so mad that he's even the vice minister, that he never gets a mark of send. Like, it just, the whole thing. And then for him to just reject her, even though he clearly broke all these rules for her in the past, is like, I can't. But anyways, yeah, so she does get captured then after all that.
And they say that the way to revive the Dark King is to take the her soul from her. And so she's like, I don't know how you would do that. So they shove poison in her mouth, and they're like, it's gonna do it.
And basically how poison works is it like it has to take, you have to have no hope left and be sure that you're gonna die and then it'll expel it.
I was like, that's not me on a Tuesday. Like, what do you mean?
But lovely MC just has too much hope.
So then the MC is like fading in and out of consciousness because now we're like in chapter 11. So like we're in chapter 11 at this point and you're like rejecting me?
Yeah. So, that's what I said. I was like, it's about time for this to wrap up, and he just said no.
So she's calling out for him in her mind, right? She's like, Karno, like, please.
I would like to say this is the part that I was referencing earlier. His ass takes way too long to show up here. Way too long.
They talk way too much. So like the Dark King, assuming by the time she gets there that she's basically on death's door, and she's not. Because the spirit of love is really saving her ass.
It's because it works with having the hope thing. It's like, but she has hope left in her heart, and there's like, oh my god, what's taking so long? Like, she must have hope in her heart.
I think, and this is just me as probably a very awful person. Like I'm gonna I keep hope despite your ass. You're gonna tell me when I'm gonna die.
I know, if someone says like, I'm about to kill you, like my first thought isn't like, here I go, off to pasture. Like, no, I'm thinking, no, I'm gonna kill you. Stop that.
I'm gonna be the most obnoxious person you've ever met. So
yeah.
You want this to happen.
Fighting for my life.
So, and why would you give me the plans? Like, tell me like, as long as you have no hope, that's it. Like, so I just keep hope. I would think about everything that I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful for games. I'm hopeful for a new car. I'm hopeful to be a millionaire. I'm hopeful to see my friends again. I'm hopeful for my siblings. Like, I just say stupid stuff.
And the way they just screaming at her, they're like, stop having hope. Stop it. And she's just like, no.
And so then basically, they're like, we're gonna destroy your hope. And Karno, they're like, we're gonna kill Karno. And she's like, ugh.
She's like, that'll do it.
And then Karno's punk ass finally is like, I'm here.
It's been hours, it feels like, at this point.
And then for whatever reason, she's like, because she's like in pain and can't move. As soon as Karno shows up, she's like revitalized.
Yeah.
And they embrace each other. And he's like, I can't believe like you've held on this long. So if I was dead, why would you show up?
Also, like, if you knew I was, like, fighting so hard, this is the freaking thing with Karno. It's like when she finds out about the death of her, like, that teacher at that place, she is literally crying herself to sleep for weeks. Leon says it's been weeks, and he's just watching her cry herself to sleep. He doesn't think to get rid of her memories until she ends up in the hospital. So he waits way too long to actually decide to make a move. And same thing here, like, she's been captured. She's like, they're trying to kill her over and over and over, and he's just like, I don't know, sipping tea, waiting to go down to the underworld?
Yeah, so then basically, like, the bad guys, the minions are like, we're finna kill your destiny. And me, as a person, I've been like, I know you're gonna say destiny. Say my name.
Say my name.
That would be so irritating. So then Karno's like, I don't think so, and powers up into his god mode. And like, he's...
God mode. Sounds like goblin mode.
God mode, dude.
It's like totally godly, bro.
To there. So then he confesses to the MC and is like, I'll do whatever I can to protect the woman that I love. Like, a little too late to tell me that, but sure.
You know, it's just a little too late.
And he says that, like, if they don't care that, like, if he doesn't take out the Dark King, that he'll lose not only his divine powers, but she'll die. And it's like, duh. That's actually a very, very readable room thing. You don't have to verbalize that. It's very clear what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we don't have to speak about it. Do not speak.
Me, I've been like, what part of this didn't reveal that? I actually knew.
And the whole time she's still sitting there struggling, about to die. It's like, Karno, oh my god.
I would possibly, I'm so sorry to pause you all. I know that we're
it's been over an hour.
We're
gonna have to split this video into 2 parts because I can't upload a 6-hour video to YouTube.
I hate to do it to y'all, but I'm just saying, like, we can read the room. So anyway, chapter 12 comes in, we're getting, like, gearing it up. He's like, he doesn't care what happens to him, he has to save the MC. This is what gets me with all of them, is that they're like, I'm willing to die. So it's like, I want you to know I'm gonna be so devastated and pissed that you just died in front of me that I won't be able to recover. Stop saying that.
Yeah.
I would never, like, find that romantic. Like, I'm willing to die just to save you. Like, that sounds cute. I'm gonna be emotionally damaged for life that no one's gonna be able to compare to this, so I'm gonna be alone, so thank you.
I would have to say one thing with MC, like, just that is kind of consistent about her is that she really doesn't, like, care for her own life. Like, she really does, like, she genuinely does only really think of other people, because she never has anything that she, like, is that connected to here on Earth.
And then finally, once he says this, the other gods show up, and they're like, Karno, like, we're here to back you up, like, so you mean...
What were they all doing?
So for reference, you could have been doing this.
Yeah.
And they all were like, that's it. And he was like, it's worth it for love to, like, sacrifice myself, and snaps his finger. And then, like, they end up in front of the king, and the Dark King lost all his power. And then, like, Karno's not there, so she's, like, upset about it. She's like, what the hell? And then, like, the king was like, yeah, like, he did what he had to do, and, like, you know, maybe your man's dead, who knows? It's like, don't tell me that.
They basically say that he is, because, like, he had to do that to basically end the, like, unseal the king or whatever.
And Ziglaphis is like, sir, stop. And I don't know why, so just like a little bit of tea. When I first played Karno, Ziglaphis was barely in this, but for whatever reason, I globbed on him.
This is what was the tipping point for her to play Ziglaphis.
I was like, Karno sucks so bad that he made me want to play Ziglaphis. Ziglaphis is so great in this route. And as I replayed it, I was like, am I on crack? Because where did he come up?
Well, Teos, I think, is what made me play Leon, because Leon says that line about being unsexy, and I was like, you're it.
So then basically Karno walks through the room and he's like, I'll take my woman. And then it's like, he's like, for my reward, I want to be with her.
How did they get him back?
Oh, he just snapped his fingers. That's it. That's all.
Okay. I felt like it was like, she got a wish or something and she wished for him back?
No, nothing like, oh no, she did. He's like, I'll grant a wish. And then she's like, I want Karno. And then Ziglaphis is like, he's been here. Let's not even play games.
Yeah.
What a waste of a wish. I'm sorry, it is. If the king of the heavens is like, here's what wish do you want? I'm not wishing for a man. Just simply not doing that. But like, good.
But he always does it as like a rhetorical question, because the answer to the wish is always for them to be together.
And then Karno's reward is to be with her. And he's like, that's not up to me, that's up to her.
Well, what annoyed me is that it took Karno way too long to answer, because he was like, well, he's like, as we know, humans and gods can't be together, but you have a free wish here. And then Karno, instead of being like, oh yes, I'll take it, I want to be with her, he's like, I don't want it. I don't want to wish, like, I don't deserve it. And then, like, a few minutes later, he's like, but if you're serious, I'll have her.
You would have to see me in the sky.
And then when the king does say that, well, actually, it's up to the little lady here. He doesn't say little lady, but I would have said no at that point.
He goes, when Aigo asks for something, he's like, I would like to say yes, but it's not up to me. It's up to her.
I did, because he's like, any wish, it can even break laws. Oh, I gotta get her permission first.
You didn't know my permission this whole time. So yeah, so that ends and encapsulates Karno's route. And so when we get to the ranking of everything, which...
We're here. You can give your ranking first this time, since you just...
Yeah, so first personality, I gave him a 3. And for the 3, I said, Karno is the trope for the nice guy who has no flaws. He has the personality of a leaf, because for such a high-ranking god, you'd think he'd have a lot more to offer, and he just doesn't. He's too perfect, and it really makes him boring. His whole conflict just really bothered me. I gave their romance, however, an 8. While though he is super boring, his romance is cute. They go on dates, they act as a fake couple, and you know me, I love fake couple, true.
This is generous of you, honestly.
Even if it's fake dates, I'm a sucker for it. It's clear that they were into each other from the beginning, so it's cool. Now for the plot, I gave it a 5, and I think I'm generous with this because the main plot is to be protected in the fake while the main point is to be protected and the fake dating troop is cool, the idea of I have to atone for making you sad when you were younger is the lamest shit I've ever heard.
And that's really not what it is. It's that he just wants to get with her. Yeah. It's from the beginning, it's so obvious.
It's get over it. Also, they lean way too heavily into not communicating about it, and I don't like that he has known her since she was so young. It's weird. That makes it uncomfortable because it's you kind of manipulated the situation to work in your favor for forgiveness.
Exactly.
So I don't like that. So for development, I gave him a 3. He actually never develops anything. He starts nice and he ends nice. He's also a liar and it's virtually pointless to lie. He lies about erasing your memories, and then he's like, I caused you so much pain I can't be around you more. And then straight up just stops guarding her. Like, I can't even do my job as a god because I hurt you one time when you were 6.
And you still don't know about it, but you might find out soon, so like, you never know.
But watching her as a kid just was so creepy to me, so it really brought the score down. Now, as for the main character, it's a 5, and I was really super generous with this as well. Just, they made her so pick me, it's crazy.
She's into him so fast.
And they made her like wait like into him from the start. Like she wasn't into anybody else that way. She knows nothing about Karno to be like, he makes my heart flutter so bad. And it's like, everything is my heart's racing, I love him so much. And it's like, that made no sense. Like half her internal thoughts are about him and nothing else.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, he got a, generous 24 out of 50.
Yeah, pretty rough, right? So then for me, I landed pretty similarly, like maybe a point or two different in different categories, but for personality, I gave him a 4 out of 10. I wrote that his personality is like that of stale bread, super boring. When he tried to flirt, I just always, before I even knew that plot point, it felt groomery to me. I don't know why, like it just gave me really weird vibes. He had really fatherly traits, so not what I'd want in romance, but it was fitting of a male Cancer archetype at the least. That's why I gave him any points. His positive points is that he was a good caretaker. And then for romance, I gave it a 7 out of 10. I wanted to give it even less than that, but I wanted to be fair because there was a lot of romance up front, especially like you said, with like the whole fake dating trope. And he immediately puts himself in the fake boyfriend role so they can be close together. And he makes a lot of moves like holding hands and the double date thing. He also makes her treats and stuff. But I docked points because the romance kind of ends in the later half because he just kind of runs away from his problems and leaves her behind and even outright rejects her love confession. For the plot, I gave it a 6.5. I was so torn on the plot at first because like it was engaging in a sense because it was like I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect him to have known her and like have that whole story about her and like actually get some lore to MC's background, which was interesting for me. But I just felt uncomfortable in the end, like of her being a kid and him knowing her since then. And it's hard because I can see how that could be cute in some ways, and then in other ways it's just giving me the ick. It was a surprise to see that develop over time, and it did at least make the plot interesting, but other stuff was very cliche, like with the king at the end, just like in every single route. And I think because Karno was the last route that I played, that I was just starting to get really sick of that formula at the end with the king. For his development, the love interest character development, I gave it a 2 out of 10 because there really wasn't much development. He actually starts out more open to connecting with humans and then ends off being like rules are rules, and then in the final act he comes back to how he was more so in the beginning where he's willing to break the rules for MC like he did in the past. And he came way too late to save her in the end, in my opinion, and he didn't have a character flaw, a personality issue to develop, so there was nothing on that. Main character, I gave a 6 out of 10. I didn't think she was too bad in this one, and it was cute to see the lore of her being somebody who always wishes for others' happiness, and I can see that for her as the goddess of fate's soul because that's how the goddess of fate was, as she really cared about other people. I had to dock points though because it felt like she was into him way too quickly, kind of like with Lou, as you guys will see here in a minute, but in a different way. She right away makes comments like, wow, he's so godly, but he's one of the ones she's known from before with the other gods, and also he doesn't do anything special to deserve the praise that she gives him. And when she drops the love confession, even though it is late enough in the game to do so, it still felt out of left field for me for some reason. And Karno was just really giving me big brother, uncle, dad vibes, not boyfriend vibes at all. So I think that's why it just felt out of left field for me.
Yeah. So
I landed on a 25.5 out of 50, so very similar. And that would make his total score combined 49.5 out of 100. So still less than 60%, which is what he would need to be at a D. So he was an F, a fail.
Yes.
Wah, wah, wah. Okay guys, so since that was getting pretty long there, that's having the whole general plot and then 2 guys, it's like 2.5 hours or something like that. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it here and do this into a 3-parter. So the first part's going to be the intro, and then the first 2 characters, Teo and Karno, and then we're gonna have 2 more videos, 1 video with the next 2, and then the last video with our top 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to check us out on Ko-Fi if you'd like to support our new Otome project. And yeah, that's it for us. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Did you try the coffee yet?
No, because it was not.
It's a double chocolate cappuccino. I think they're so good.
Oh, damn, that's bomb.
Yeah.
When we did it, when like you go to like the Starbucks there or something, I was like, I don't want it scalding hot, and I was just like warm. And they're like, so child temperature, and I was like,
That's so rude. Oh my god, I would be aghast. Like, what did you just?
I was like, and then I was like, yes.
Yes, daddy.
Oh, yes, Daddy.
I love that clip. I reference it all the time.
I'm telling you, when you and I get like old and senile, it'll just be random quips of shit that nobody will get besides you and I.
People in the old folks home will be like, what is happening?
We'll get sent to the ward.